She doesn't even go here.
I'm bi, actually.
Excuse me. Could the ugly, untalented gays please report to the principal's office?
Hi, I'm Kurt Hummel, and I'll be auditioning for the role of kicker.
Hello! Welcome! Thank you guys for tuning in with us today. We have a very exciting discussion here on Not So Straight Nerds. I am your host, Luke.
And I'm your other host, Alicia.
And today, we get the pleasure of talking to you about the Thunderbolts.
The Thunderbolts. Cling! With the little asterisk. Ting!
Yes, we
Anyways.
have finally seen it. We finally know what the asterisk is for.
Yeah.
So, very, very excited to talk to you about that. What we did like, what we didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
We are also going to have a little game where we go through, because some people have been talking about how this is the best movie since Endgame for them.
Yeah.
So, we figured we'd go ahead and do a little ranking of our own to see how we rank all of the MCU movies post Endgame. All of the movies since Endgame.
Yeah.
Be crazy.
There you go.
So we will be getting into that, but before we do, vibe check. How are the vibes?
I'm excited. I enjoyed this movie, and I'm excited to talk about it. And I feel like this is going to be one of our longer ones. Maybe not.
I
but
would assume
feel
it'll
like,
be pretty close to our Sinners one.
Yeah, because I feel like we have a lot to talk about, and we have some fun things in store, some cool discussions to look forward, with Fantastic Four and Doomsday. So, I don't know. We got some stuff. What about you?
I am very excited. I had a pretty chill day today, and then I get to
Yeah.
come here and talk about this movie, which I've not stopped thinking about since we watched it. I
Same.
really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm very excited to see how it does, what it could mean going forward. I think there's a lot
Yeah.
of really fun stuff to talk about. So I'm very excited to finally be able to talk about it.
Me too. Yeah, I'm excited to see the reception. Well, I mean, the reception critics-wise has been really strong, but I'm excited to look at the numbers. I've seen one number in the Thursday domestic previews, so I'm guessing they're not going to update because it's still Friday at the time we're recording this. So I'm guessing they're not. I'm guessing that's going to be the number we look at, but I'm excited to look at what that could mean for this movie.
Sure.
And what it's, what the rest of the weekend is going to look like because of word of mouth. And then as we see with Sinners, the second weekend was great. And so I'm hoping Thunderbolts will also have a strong second weekend. So
Absolutely, and we will get all into that.
Yeah.
So we are going to start out with our typical non-spoiler stuff. We will let you know when we get into spoiler talk for this movie. And we are going to start with our pros and cons.
yeah. Do you want me to start?
I would love for you to start.
Okay. So I have mostly pros. First off, I put Bob because I adore Bob. He was by far my favorite character from this movie. I think he was so interesting to watch. I'm very excited to... Okay, I guess spoilers if you haven't seen the Doomsday cast announcements. I don't know how, but I guess if you don't want to know, that would kind of spoil things, I guess, for this movie. But anyways, I'm excited for him to be in Doomsday and see what he does there.
I'm very interested to see what his role is going forward.
Because I know some people are theorizing that he might be a tool used by Doom in a way, or like a sort of like partnership kind of thing. I don't know. I heard people talking about he's going to take up a mantle of like one of the helpers of Doom. I forgot who it was. It was like the magic guy. But then Sentry's not magic based, so it was like a weird
Man?
Yes. People were saying he was going to take over that in a way, I think. And so it could be that, or it could be he sticks with the Thunderbolts. I don't know. So we'll see.
We shall.
I don't know. But I'm excited. I think he did great.
Yeah, I'll jump off of that real quick because I heard that him and Yelena had the standout performances here.
Oh, yeah.
So I went in with some high expectations, but
Yeah.
man, did he blow those out of the water.
I agree. It was great. He was just such like a, I don't know, like a nuanced character. He portrayed what his character was so well. I mean, you easily could have played this the wrong way and have everyone hate you. And he did horrible things, but it's like, I don't know. I want to be vague about it for those who may not know things about his character. But
He plays a really fascinating character.
Yes, it was very clearly like a character in pain, and we wanted him to get out of that. I'm trying to find another word for it. Dark space, we'll say.
Sure.
So, yeah,
absolutely. I
think that's great.
I feel like he's the perfect character to like write an essay on.
No, exactly.
The
themes of this movie were great. That's another one of my pros. And I think a lot of the characters, the whole team, and that's the point, is that they embody that they're living in darkness and we're trying to root for them to, have them get out of that darkness. But I think Sentry is such he's like the example of that in this movie. Like, he is the theme. And I think that's great. Yeah. And his powers are really cool. And he looks really cool. And even when he's just Bob, he's great. I love Bob. She's
the widow. He's just Bob.
He's just Bob. Oh my gosh. With that being said, though, please don't ship them.
I don't know. I've seen people
do
shipping
it.
them already.
No, don't do it. No. Marvel, I'm keeping my eye on you. Don't you erase an asexual character. Don't you fucking do that.
I don't know. I think it would be weird I would find it a little weird for Yelena to have something. Especially, I don't know. Personally, I think the ship between her and Kate is a little stronger.
Okay, that is so actually valid, though. Okay, I'll change it for that. If we're going to go back on the asexual bar, it needs to be with a woman, okay? And it needs to be with specifically Kate. Because they've had the most chemistry out of, everybody. People were like, what if her and Bucky have chemistry? They didn't. Thank God. And then I'm not going to deny that her and Bob did, but I'm just like, don't go there. With Kate, sure, go there all day long. But anyways, you're looking at me with judgmental eyes.
I'm not looking at you with judgmental eyes. I'm listening.
Anyways, speaking of Yelena, I also put her as one of the pros. She's great. I will say, though, I agree with you when you say that Bob blew you away. Lewis Pullman as Bob. I would say I feel like Florence Pugh gave the performance I expected. Although that's hard because I've seen her in a lot more really difficult roles. And so I already expected more. It's more like she met my expectations, but my expectations were also much higher for her.
Sure.
So it's
Absolutely.
So, and that's not bad whatsoever. It was very much a pro. She did great. She gave what needed to be given, and she ate that.
Absolutely.
So,
I think the way I would kind of word it is I know that Florence Pugh is a great actress.
Yeah.
And she is capable of doing a lot of things. She has a lot of range. What I think this movie really cements her in is that Yelena is a leading character. Because I think this is her movie.
It is. I agree.
I think that this is a great showcase that she can hold her own movie and have it be a great movie. And
I think that's a really good description. I think this is literally this movie could be named Yelena Belova, and I'd be like, yeah, this is her story, and this is her. It's like Sentry is the perfect example of the theme. I'm gonna revise my statement from earlier. Sentry is the perfect example of the theme, but I feel like Yelena is the soul of this movie.
Sure, it's
kind of thing.
An interesting foil to each other, where they're both going through the same thing. Mm-hmm. Only you see Bob take that on in a whole new different light.
Yeah,
and it's really great to have Yelena specifically because we see so much of her arc closer than the other characters in the team.
Yes,
but you see that everyone is going through the same stuff.
Yeah,
and it's really fascinating.
Yeah,
and I think really well done.
Yeah. The Void was also really well done. I'm not going to say much on that. But as you see in the trailer, there is a darkness that they walk into.
Chilling.
And it is very good. I totally agree. It's very chilling. Before they walk into it with the first big thing that happens, we're going to talk about it later, but the entire theater gasped. Mm-hmm. It was so dark. I honestly could not believe that Marvel was going that far. But I'm honestly so glad they did. I feel like it worked perfectly here. It was not a situation where I was like, is this too far? I was like, no, this works for this movie. They're going there. And I thought it was really well done. And I want to say there are some themes of this movie that I think were treated with so much respect and love versus movies like A Woman in the Yard that explore similar things, and it's borderline in an offensive way.
Yeah.
And this is not that at all. This is way, way better.
Yeah.
So.
I remember when the credits were rolling, I looked over to Alicia and I was like, am I crazy, or does this feel so much like the same like writing room? Like, this was like the room right next to Woman in the Yard.
Right.
And they were like, oh my god, our script is due so much sooner. What are they working on? It feels like this is like cut from the same ribbon, but a much nicer piece of ribbon.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. It felt like, Thunderbolts was having this great conversation in the writer's room, and right next door they could like kind of hear
they had
bits
like a
and
really
pieces.
like bad cup to the wall.
Right?
And it was like, what are
Suicide?
they saying? Shadow.
Depression. Guns. Sacrifice and children and parents and da-da-da. Write that down. And they just didn't do it well whatsoever.
Yeah.
And this movie did it so well. I mean, I could completely see how A Woman in the Yard could be super triggering for people who have gone through that and felt that, or still are going through it. This movie, I mean, it still might be triggering, but I do really strongly feel like this was treated with so much more respect.
Absolutely.
I feel like this could almost be like healing for people going through that who have had gone through that.
Because both explore the ideas of that.
Yeah.
But this one gives, like, it asks, like, some deep questions about how you get out of that.
Yeah.
And it gives, a good answer.
Yeah.
Unlike The Woman in the Yard.
Yep. I totally agree.
It feels like such a crazy thing that's the movie that we both kind of
we both
this
thought
to,
that
and
because when he said that, I was thinking the exact same thing. I was also so much thinking of The Woman in the Yard, and not in a good way for The Woman in the Yard.
For sure,
so
for sure.
Yeah.
But your other pros, please.
Yeah, and then my other two, I already said theme. Theme is wonderful. We just talked about it a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Valentina. I really liked Valentina. I feel like she had moments where I was like doubting her. I was like, okay, she's supposed to be like really good at what she does and really calculated. And there were moments where I was like, is she, or is she slacking on that? But then I think about how much was thrown at her, which like she was guilty of the things being thrown at her. But the way she gets out of it, I'm like, okay, I didn't need to doubt you. Like, I doubted you because of the amount of stuff being thrown at you. But, like, honestly, all things considered, you handled it really well. And it worked out. So, good job, girl, I guess.
Yeah, no, she's really interesting as a villain. And I think she brings, like, the anti-Nick Fury energy here.
Yes.
And I absolutely love it.
It's done really well.
It feels, I don't know, kind of refreshing,
yeah.
I would say. A pretty unique take on a villain. And I'm very excited to have seen what she did here.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be interesting to see if and when she pops up next.
I agree, because that's one thing I was thinking of, is I do still want to see more from her. We saw a dark scene from her past, and I want to know more about that. I want to know more about Valentina, because we know she's calculated. We know she's really smart. We especially know that by the end of this movie, times 10. But then we know she has a lot of darkness in the past, and I want to learn more about that side.
Yeah, I
wonder if there could be like a show there or something.
Maybe a special presentation.
Yeah.
I think this would be
I would
a good
watch
example.
it. Yeah.
I think she has been really fun to see introduced and explored in all of these different projects.
Yeah.
And this kind of being
again, she was like a
Avengers
Nick Fury
movie of its own, kind of bringing the thing that's bringing all of these other random parts together.
Yep.
I think that's really interesting, and I think in the movie it really comes out really satisfying.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And then obviously we're not going to talk about it right now. We're going to talk about it later. The last, in all caps, I said post-credit scene. I loved that post-credit scene. I think it was very strong. It was certainly one of the strongest. Ooh, that's one thing when you're talking like for a lengthy amount of time, I should look up the list of post-credit scenes in the Endgame movies.
That's a good idea.
That would be another fun ranking.
People have talked about how this is the best post-credit scene and like borderline in the entire MCU. And I think it's very strong for sure. It definitely harkens back to the whole point of what these were meant to be, which is it ties into the movie that you watched, and it's kind of getting you excited for something that's coming next.
Yeah.
In
I don't know if you brought this up or somebody else, maybe Grace Randolph. I don't know. But I heard someone make a good point where they said a lot of the post-Endgame movies were forgetting what post-credit scenes should be and should function as. And they were teasing things that they didn't know they were going to get to make, whether they were going to get to make or not. Like Hercules in Thor: Love and Thunder. That's not going to go anywhere ever again. Not even the Shang-Chi thing with Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner and who was it? Rocket? There was like a third one, I feel like. Maybe.
Wong, Carol, and Bruce were there. I think
Okay. And even that one is frustrating because it's like you have so many opportunities to bring that up. Like you had She-Hulk, you had the Marvels, and you still didn't bring it up. So I don't know. It's just a lot of.
I think that brings up the fact that if Captain America makes his Avengers team, that Shang-Chi is going to have a spot on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. It's like it's forgetting that it's supposed to, get you excited for the next movie or show or whatever, and they need to know that they're doing that before they just throw something in there.
I think it's interesting that this post-credit scene we learned was not directed with the rest of the movie.
We'll talk about who directed it later. Yeah.
But I think a lot of the post-credit scenes post-Endgame come off as, oh, I can't wait as the director to come back and work in this project again and do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's very bold that you assume you're going to get that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so
I've
liked a lot of projects post-Endgame, but a lot of them fall into that trap of, here's why you want to see the sequel to this one. And it's like, well, maybe you should be prepared if this is the last one you make.
Yeah. Are we going to get a sequel to this?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I don't know, man. I don't know.
So,
anyways.
Yeah. So my pros, overall, I think I really like the entire cast. I think the cast is one of the strongest points of this whole movie. A lot of the same arc is seen throughout these different characters, and the different ways that they're going through them is touched upon. Obviously, you see it most, like we were saying, from Yelena and Bob. But seeing all of these people combined by the same kind of battle that they're going through internally, I think it brings a lot of heart and a lot of, emotion whenever everything comes together towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's really great. I would say maybe one of the few cons I could come up with is I wish they showed more of it for all of the characters.
I agree.
I
totally agree.
Unanimously, one of the things that I've seen most critiques of this movie is that it wasn't longer.
Yeah.
And that you didn't get more time to spend with some of these characters. And I think it's more like I wouldn't take almost anything out of this movie. I would add time to this movie so we can get to these other things.
I've heard a few people mention Ava, which is Ghost, that they wanted to know more about her, and I totally agree with that. I want to know more about Valentina. I want to know more about Walker and Ghost.
We see some hints on some of the characters, but we don't see it on all of it, which is what feels really weird.
Yeah. And Red Guardian too, and let's throw Bucky in there. We'll talk about, when that would have happened
for
later.
Sure.
But, yeah.
So all around, I think it's a great show of faith for a potential sequel to the Thunderbolts. That one of the biggest notes is we want to know more about these characters. And considering what the energy was when they announced this project, this team has won. Because the whole point of this was, who wants to see this team together? And, the movie even plays with that idea. And, ultimately with so many people coming out of the movie wanting to see this team again, successful. Mission success.
Yeah.
We love to see it.
Mission possible.
I also put the action scenes. There are some amazing action scenes here. I've heard that some of them have already leaked onto the internet.
Oh, that sucks. But they are good, though. You
should
go
really
see them
good
in the theater.
And they're definitely worth seeing in theater.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Then I also said the power effects.
Yeah.
They are done very well here. We'll get more into specifics whenever we get a little bit more spoilery. But Ghost, the way she looks throughout this movie is really fun. And then the other character we'll get more into, but very exciting stuff happening there.
Yeah.
And then I also said the team dynamics. I was expecting this team to come off very Guardians of the Galaxy-ish. And I agree that it really does. The idea that these people are kind of coming together through no fault of their own and kind of working together to survive and then bonding through that and their shared experience.
That's so Guardians of the Galaxy.
So it's very found family,
yeah.
Especially by the end of it. And it's just very satisfying. It'll get me every time when done well. So it's very interesting to see. I told in one of our previous episodes that it feels like this is going to fill the space of Guardians of the Galaxy. And so far, I think it definitely feels like it's trying to, and I would say it does it pretty successfully. Yeah. So.
And it's still like a way different team. Like it's not, copy and paste. It's definitely not trying to be copy and paste. Yeah.
It's very unique to what it is, but it fills that kind of hole that was left.
Yeah.
By God.
It has the elements you want, but not like. So this is Guardians.
Yeah, but it's not copying homework.
No. So, and I like it because they still have some Guardians, and so they're leaving space for that. I like
they're
it.
Holding space.
They're holding space.
What else did I say? Also,
holding space.
Oh.
Do it. Okay.
I've also caught myself saying again. I need you to throw something at me when I do it again.
Okay.
So
I'll throw the computer
we talked
at
about
you.
The themes. Love the themes. I love the way they incorporate it. It feels. I don't know. There's a hard line that I think a movie walks between being preachy and being about something.
Yeah.
And this movie definitely feels more like it's about something.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings up questions and then it answers them.
I agree.
And I think it's really nice to see this team walk that fine line.
Mm-hmm.
I think they do it very successfully.
Yeah.
And then also, I love that it just brings some very bold changes for the future of the MCU. It's
they're putting a lot of their marbles in this, and I think that's a good choice. I think they did it well. Good choices and smart choices.
For sure. I like it because they're making bold choices, and we know that we'll at least see this team again in Doomsday. So we know that there will be at least some payoff to the bold choices. Yes. Which is very nice. And I think what we were saying with the use of some of these other post-credit scenes is we don't know if we'll get the payoffs that they're setting up. Which in this case we do. Yeah. And very specifically, we see the next time we kind of get a chance to see that payoff, which is always so nice. And I think really what kind of makes them feel worth including. Yeah. It's hard to be vague. I know what you're saying, but if someone phase one where it's Phil Coulson's this character throughout Iron Man 2, and then he has to go leave to do something else. Post-credit scene is him showing up, and it's Thor's hammer for the movie coming out next summer. Yeah, so you're going to get that payoff. That's what we mean. So I think it's interesting. That's all to be said about that. I kind of want to spin out a little conversation on this. Is with such an inclusion on some new characters in the MCU. Yeah. I think it's interesting looking at it pre-Endgame, where I would say think Phase 3. The biggest characters that spun out of there and kind of making their own thing is Black Panther and Spider-Man. They were introduced in Civil War, and then they went on to go have their own little projects, which have grown into huge things. Yep. Ant-Man and Doctor Strange both had their own little origin thing. So I think it's interesting to kind of look at how Marvel introduces new characters. Yeah. And when and why it doesn't work for them. I mean, even look at Captain Marvel, which her first movie made $1 billion. So obviously there was something about that worked. Was it all Skrulls? I like Brie Larson, but clearly it's not all on her. Even just her reputation at the time, even before that. Yeah. So I don't know. It brings an interesting look into why introducing characters, originally then worked, why some characters needed to be introduced in larger projects. Is it something they should maybe focus on for finding ways to introduce them in these projects to then have their own movies? I don't know.
I feel like the most successful stories have definitely been when a character is introduced in a bigger movie and then go off to have their own movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've seen that. I mean, Spider-Man was always gonna do well because it's Spider-Man,
Sure.
duh. But like Black Panther, I mean, that's an amazing story just to see like what happened with that character and the timeline of that, the success of that. And then I don't know, it's like Doctor Strange, I think the first one did pretty well, and people like him, but then I think people forget that his second movie did well largely because of Wanda.
Yeah, it was a movie that was almost just completely not about him.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I don't know. I feel like I would not credit most of that success to him and his character. And then I'm thinking of Ant-Man. That's never really worked super well. So, yeah. I feel like
Let me see if I can
most
find
of
the
these
numbers on that
characters
one.
were introduced in a bigger movie and then used later, like here. We'll see how this one does, but at least critic-wise, it's gone really well. So, I don't know. What you looking at?
How well some of those movies went, because the first Ant-Man made just $518 million.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think it's interesting to see how
I mean,
original heroes did a little better back in the day.
Yeah. I agree. I don't know. Because it's also hard because Marvel was so, like, loved and they were growing. And now, there is pushback. Whether or not it's as big as other people think, I don't know. But there is definitely still some pushback. There's some trust lost for whatever reason. Some valid, some invalid. But I don't know. I can see what's happening there a little bit. But it's an interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
Let us know what y'all think.
Yeah.
What your theories are.
And moving on to our cons list.
Yeah.
The few, and I think I even talked about a little bit
Yes.
of mine, but go ahead, kick us off.
We basically have the same two, except I don't know what your third means. I'm interested to see what you mean by it.
Yeah, that one's just a little bit nitpicky, but
Okay.
go ahead, take us away.
So both of us had Taskmaster on here. So personally, I know going into Black Widow, I knew nothing about Taskmaster. So I had no attachment to Taskmaster being a guy in the comics, and everyone's for some reason mad that Taskmaster's a girl in the movies, because I think it worked well with like I think it made sense because then Dragoff had a daughter, and then I thought that was like an interesting storyline because like she was another victim, and her powers were really cool, and I didn't mind her ever in that movie. I liked her in that movie. She's not the worst villain we've had post Endgame. Looking at you, Marvels. Anyways, I wish I liked the Marvels villain more, but it's okay. It's fine. And then I'm trying to think. And then in this movie, there were theories that she was gonna die early and like not have a lot to do. And I'm just disappointed that they didn't use her more. I'm not gonna say whether or not she dies or not because that's a spoiler. We'll talk about that later. But she is in fact not in this movie a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's disappointing. I wish they did more with her character. And she got mad at you.
I saw that.
Roxy. Anyways,
Continue.
our manager's upset with our co-host Luke over here. Anyways, she is staring you down right now. Don't make eye contact.
Heard.
Anyways, so I don't know. I'm disappointed because I personally like her character, and I'm definitely on the team of like even if I liked a character, and even if you have fans of a certain character, if most people don't like the adaptation, then you should put in the work to fix it.
Yeah.
And to improve it. And they just didn't even try to do that here, and I'm disappointed.
Yeah. I also put Taskmaster as someone who knows a little bit about Taskmaster.
Yeah.
At least I've seen the character a handful of times.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen Taskmaster be a really behind the scenes villain.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a pulling the strings on a larger like almost overarching things that teams like the Avengers or when Spider-Man and friends are doing something, he's the one kind of pulling the strings and getting other bad guys in to do stuff to reach larger goals. And he is notoriously like a team, like a villain trainer almost, as someone who can learn and mimic every technique.
Yeah,
He's
that's such a cool power
been
set.
able to like train mercenaries and like train supervillains. So I think whenever Taskmaster was introduced in Black Widow, and I think any issue I have with it is kind of taking the agency away from a character like that. Someone who is like training a team to destroy the Avengers, someone with so much agency to like just be like a name villain against a whole team.
Yeah.
To like, whatever that it's Dreykov's daughter.
But she's being controlled.
The end of that movie, what is she now?
Yeah. And this movie does not answer that.
And I think it left like where, okay, the suit looks great. You revealed that it's a woman, but it was a male person in the suit filming that the entire time. So, okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
That's the thing that I've seen people take issue with, where it's like, okay, so you're gonna make that choice, but you're gonna use it more as a shock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that sucks.
And, I think if you are going to bring it where she takes the Elena route and she goes into being a mercenary, I think you can very much... There was room to give her an arc to maybe follow in the steps of her father. Maybe not in the route of, like, against their will, but of making an organization and training people to... combat people in a mercenary route. Maybe she takes her issues with her father and is against all kinds of like global takeover and global powers. And there's something to have been done there. Yeah. And there's a lot of potential. You don't see them go that way. No. And it makes me wonder what happened behind the scenes, because surely this was not the intended way to go. Yeah. I will say I have some questions and some suspicions that I want to talk about when we get more into the spoiler stuff. We talked about it a little bit, but I want to kind of maybe talk into it a little bit more. We don't, obviously, it's just speculation. Yeah. But it definitely feels very weird. It does. So. Anyways, do you want to talk about your third con? Absolutely. Well, actually, we didn't talk about the second one. Yeah, our second con, we kind of did, but we could talk about it a little more. Our second con was that they didn't explore every character and what they saw in the void. They showed mostly Yelena. They showed a few scenes with Bob. They showed one with Valentina and one with Walker. Yeah. It's and that's it. You don't get one for Ghost, Bucky, or Red Guardian. I think it ultimately goes into the feeling of this movie is about certain characters' movies, and there's an ensemble with them. Yeah. And it feels like these are kind of the examples of, we're going to remind you whose movie this is. Yeah. Because some of these characters you just kind of acknowledge are similar to them, but we don't see it. Yeah. So it's, I don't know. I wish they spent some time to kind of do these minor moments of like, yep, here's evidence of why that they're here doing this, going through the same stuff. Yeah. And it's just, there was an easy way for them to kind of show that, and they could have done something really cool with it, I think. We'll talk about that in the spoiler review. Yeah. But... Well, and I feel like the only character I would have been fine not seeing what he saw was Bucky, just because we already know so much about... Through. Yeah. And he even makes a joke about it, where they're like, what did you see? And he's like, oh, mine was great, because I have nothing but happy memories, basically. It was really funny. And yeah, I feel like that's all you needed. But then the other characters, I'm like, we don't know enough about them for me to be like, I don't need to see what darkness they see. I'm like, that's what this movie is exploring, and so I want to see that, because I don't know much about, exactly what your darkness is. Yeah. Just that you have it, which, fine, but, it's only 2 hours. It's not like it's 3 hours and you're like, we had to cut something. It's only 2 hours, so just add like 15 minutes. That's probably plenty of time, actually. Yeah, and this movie definitely deserves it. Like, yeah,
Honestly,
feels
just add like
it
5 minutes.
It doesn't overstay its welcome, and like
No.
I said, people are walking away wanting and like almost wishing they had more time with these characters.
Yeah.
So it definitely doesn't overstay its welcome if it does give some time, like a couple, like just one scene per character to be like, here's what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
And there's an awesome way that they established that it can be done without feeling like the movie's stopping to talk about it, which is it's interesting that they use it for some characters and not all of them.
Yeah.
So, my other note, and it's just a little, it's something I went through as I was watching the movie for the first time is, you know, we obviously see a lot of content from Marvel, like trailers and teasers. And I think that there's a point where a movie can be over-advertised.
Okay.
I think Multiverse of Madness is a great example of that, where there's almost a point where you can kind of be like, I know this is going to happen, and then I know this is going to happen, and then I know this is going to happen, because clearly this is how it ends. Like, this is where the big... Like, you can almost, like, create the entire plot structure just from the trailers. And I felt almost like I was tracking it scene for scene with stuff from the trailer for maybe the first 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And I had this weird feeling where it was like, oh, so he's at the door, so now I know this scene's about to happen, and then he's going to open the door, and then they're going to have this conversation because we heard that, like, clips of that in the trailer.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you stop that. I mean, I think this movie had an uphill battle.
Yeah.
So I think they put a lot in the trailer.
Yeah.
I would say especially with Bucky, they put a lot of his runtime in this movie in the trailer. Definitely the most exciting parts of his role in the trailer.
I agree.
So ultimately I don't think that's a huge problem there for me personally, but definitely towards the beginning for whatever reason it felt very like I feel like I'm having almost deja vu from this.
Interesting.
Because I feel like I'm not watching this part for the first time.
Okay.
I don't know. It was a very weird feeling to have, and I don't know when the last time I felt that way about a movie was.
Interesting.
Although I will say, especially after Captain America Brave New World, where they didn't do the MCU logo, they did it here, and they did something really unique with it, which was, it was very chilling.
My gosh.
The visuals
it was so
of the,
good.
like, the comic books flipping was also very different.
I like it.
I liked it. It seemed very specific to this.
Yeah.
But then they do something kind of happening to it, which looks really great. It reminds me of like whenever like Marvel's Disney Plus shows would be like, here's the WandaVision one, and then it's gonna cut into the tiny black and white TV frame, or when Loki had the old timey like.
Okay.
Or let me. Hey, I ate that.
Sure.
Let me eat that.
Okay. I would love for you to sometime.
But it's just, I don't know. I like seeing them come up with fun stuff. I really liked the idea that they would change the videos in the MCU logo, like the Marvel Studios logo, as to like what the film is pertaining to.
Yeah.
I really liked how they've done that with some of the last couple movies. And this
But
was
I
a
liked
very
what happened
interesting
here.
choice as well.
Yeah.
And I think...
I
and
kind of
that's
like the comic booky thing. I don't know.
Well, that's how it started.
Yeah.
Like in Marvel Studios, and I would say Phase 1 through 2. And then I think Phase 3 is when they started doing the more grander look at it.
I like it. It was like a little throwback. It was fun.
And then that's all I had for cons. I think this is overall a really strong movie, and it's certainly a really fun and emotional time. I recently heard someone call it tears and cheers.
Yeah.
And it did get me. It's a very emotional.
It almost got me like 2 or 3 times.
It's a very emotional third act.
Yeah.
And in the same vein that I said Woman in the Yard struck a nerve with me on like a personal level, this one also definitely hit me in the same note, because like I said, how did that movie come out first and still fail to copy this one?
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know. I really love the takeaway from here so much more, and it's it's very, very satisfying and very.
I agree.
Positive.
It leaves a much better, much more hopeful taste in your mouth than whatever the Woman in the Yard was trying to do.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah. We have one more little thing we want to do before we move into spoilers.
Thing.
Well, not little thing, but fun game, activity things.
Is that we are going to as people said, they claimed that they thought this was the best MCU movie since Endgame. And we're going to go ahead and just rank how we feel about the post-Endgame movies.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start from the bottom and work our way up and kind of see how we feel. We have not seen each other's lists, so as we typically do when we list stuff like this. So, I'll go ahead and write them out too as well.
I'm gonna number it so I can keep track of it. There's 13.
Yes.
Okay.
Starting with Black Widow, now ending with Thunderbolts.
Yeah. Okay, let me go into my notes. Okay.
And we are starting
start with 13.
at 13.
Ooh, okay, so I did this in pink. I'm gonna do purple now. All the choices. Okay.
Actually, I'm gonna do the shorter name.
Oh, interesting. That is, well, maybe
some of these titles are long.
Oh, yeah. I'm shortening, like, most of them. So, I'm ready. Hurry up!
I'm going. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Quantumania.
Yep. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that one is... There are some movies I don't like because of just the things that they do.
Mm-hmm.
This one I hate because it does nothing.
Yeah.
It is the most nothing movie. Nothing changes. No character goes through an arc. Everyone enters the movie, does stuff, and then leaves the movie exactly as they came in.
Yup.
So overall, like, and I hate to call almost any movie a waste of time, but truly, just like on paper, a waste of time.
It was one of those movies, like, I kind of hate to even reference it or compare it to this, but it reminds me of, like, Descendants Rise of Red, where when it ended, I was like, no, that's not where it's ending, right? Right? Except I enjoyed Descendants, and I don't know if I would say I enjoyed Quantumania.
There are, like, parts of this that I think are interesting, and then every now and again they'd have a Paul Rudd joke that was funny.
Yeah.
And I will say, I think the scenes between Kang and Janet are, like, the most interesting scenes in this movie, and I think, you know, we don't need to see... I forget his first name, but Majors.
Jonathan
Majors. Again, personally, that's how I feel following everything with him. I think it's just a lot to bring in. But I really liked Kang, and I liked his performance as Kang here.
Yeah.
So I think it's a shame that this was a great performance in a horrible movie.
Yeah.
And the conclusion of his character was such like a, what are you doing, movie?
Yeah.
And it's so crazy.
That's another one I bet they wish they were teasing the next movie instead of doing what they did with all the Kangs, because that led nowhere. Yeah. Don't do it unless you know which, I mean, they had, like, Kang Dynasty in mind, but just play it safe, guys. Just tease your next movie and it'll be fine, okay? Or, like, 1 or 2 away.
I don't know, but it was also
not like 3 years away or whatever it
like,
was.
The whole point of, like, there being multiple Kangs, but, like, this was clearly, like, the Kang to fight, and then they just didn't. It was such a lost opportunity. Like, I really think this was the official point where, like, you lost. Like, if there was ever a point where, like, the MCU, like, fell off and multiverse was the problem, and there are too many sequels, it's like, man, way to hit so many points on this. And I was super excited for this movie. I was really hoping it would be big and bold, and it was going to officially set up what...
Catherine Newton did great.
But that's the thing.
But...
That was the first thing I'd ever seen her in.
Oh, really?
And I didn't love her in it.
Uh-oh.
And then I watched her in some other things, and I was like, how can a movie be so bad that it makes her come off as a bad actress?
Right?
What a horrible script and team that she had to work with.
Yeah.
To not shine in a movie. Because she is so amazing.
So amazing. I agree.
This is just so many failures toppled on top of each other. It's impressive.
Yeah.
But moving on. Oh, hold on. I didn't even write my next one. I was ranting.
I know.
Okay.
I'm already ready, guys.
I know. I'll learn my lesson from
Write
this.
it big so people can read it.
Okay, I have 3, 2, 1. Doctor Strange.
Ooh.
Yes, interesting.
I put Thor. Love and Thunder. Sorry, guys.
Very interesting. I think this is movie.
Don't worry,
is,
that one is close on my
yeah,
list.
this one is very
not far away.
watchable. I think it's watchable because I think it's visually very interesting.
Oh
and
yeah,
I think the cinematographer did wonders for this movie.
Absolutely, and I love Wanda. I love watching her.
I love seeing her, and I love the way they use her powers.
Yeah, I don't even hate what happened necessarily. I hate it within the context.
Sure.
Of her whole arc and story.
It's not what she does, it's how and why
it's
she
when.
does it.
I feel like for me it's when. It's
Sure.
like, okay, how did we get from point A to point Z? Like, that's how it was in my mind. So I want to see the in-between, guys.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know. Just the whole team. Well. We were recently talking about how Doctor Strange 3 is still in the books and Sam Raimi is set to direct it again. And honestly, if he does, I'm scared. I love the first Doctor Strange movie. It's one of my favorite character introduction movies for the MCU. And I think it's a super powerful movie. And then this one comes out, and borderline, like, I could understand how a woman could watch this and take it as borderline offensive.
Interesting.
So this movie just does a lot wrong also. And then also I think it's also, I'm saying also a lot.
Yeah. Also.
It is another case like Quantumania where if someone said there's a problem with multiverse stories, it's this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There were some definitely exciting things in this movie, but I just don't think it worked well together. I don't think it was very cohesive. I think some storylines were rushed. I think Doctor Strange was thrown to the back.
Yeah, it's a movie not about him.
Although I will say, I disagree with the Sam Raimi thing. I really liked the visuals of this movie, and I feel like the script was the main problem for me.
But I don't
know.
So,
just get a new writer.
He could have made someone fix it, and he didn't.
That's fair. I feel like you just need a better writer, though. And then he'll... Because, like, you know, when he's given a good script, we've seen that with Spider-Man 1 and 2, which I know, you know, the first one's not your favorite, but I do like...
I think
really
is
like
borderline masterpiece.
Yeah. When he's given something good, like, he does a lot with it. So maybe he's just not very good at taking control and being like, hey, this script sucks.
To me,
kind of
it
thing.
feels like
because he didn't do that for Spider-Man 3
knows how to make
either.
good shots, but it feels like... And I think the first Spider-Man movie, also a very hot take, and I know people love that movie, and I love that movie. I think the character work is weak, I would say as weak as it is in 3. And I don't know.
Ouch.
That's my very hot take, and I
love the
understand
first
that
one.
is almost just me.
On certain days, I like the first one a little bit better than the second one. Not all days, not even most days, but some days. Some days, you know.
But anyway.
It's because I love Green Goblin. Let's just put it that way. I love Green Goblin. But anyways. Okay, I'm ready with my 11th one.
11. 3, 2, 1. Thor, Love and Thunder.
Doctor Strange. Yeah.
Now, I enjoy Thor, Love and Thunder enough.
I don't.
I don't know. And I
think
didn't
like it.
And I think parts of it, I think are really... Like, the joke where they run into the planet and it's really way smaller than they thought it was, I still think about that and laugh.
Yeah. Well, I liked some visuals in it. I liked gore. I wanted way more of gore.
Agree there. I also think there's no reason he couldn't have looked comic accurate.
Yeah. Well, and I wish... I liked Jane's storyline. It was very sad. But very her character in the comics. Mm-hmm. And I thought she looked awesome as Lady Thor.
And I thought the visuals of her hammer were great.
Yeah. I think just using the broken pieces, I think, was really cool.
Yeah, I think Thor is actually the weakest part of that whole movie, which is crazy. And
here's my hot take. I have never liked Thor.
Interesting.
So, I mean, I kind of like him in Ragnarok and Infinity War. I mean, he just looks cool. But I just feel like his character is so, like... I just don't see any, like, personality here, unfortunately. I don't know. He's giving, like... He's giving a god. Let's just put it that way. But then you have Loki, and it's just so much better. So much better for me. So, I don't know. I can't blame it all on the fact that he's a god. So, I've just never been his biggest fan. Sorry. So you shouldn't be that. But I do love Ragnarok. Let's just be clear. I love Ragnarok. But anyways. Ooh, I'm the one that's not ready now.
My gosh.
Okay. You might be shocked.
What else can I say about Thor: Love and Thunder? I'm gonna say it's like a bunch of SNL skits put together.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah. I just put Multiverse of Madness above Love and Thunder because I adore the Scarlet Witch that much. So.
And I don't know. My thing is, at least
it's so hard. It's honestly kind of hard to hate this movie, which I don't know if I would say hate. It's hard to dislike this movie because I just love Wanda so much and I love watching her. But then I just have to look at it as a movie and then I'm like, yeah, it's bad.
The movie would save itself so much if they didn't convince her to kill herself at the end.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, I would say it's almost ends on as bad a note
like
as
a woman in the yard. Yep.
And
it's
like,
exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Like, cool. Way to keep a bad bitch down.
Right. Way to say, oh, you did all these horrible things. Instead of even like attempting to like fix it, just die.
You know what? Also on that note, Thunderbolts feels like an antithesis to that movie.
Yeah.
It feels very antithesis.
Good for
to
that
movie,
movie.
which is actually interesting. I actually love that a lot.
Okay.
Okay, number 10.
Scared.
3, 2,
That's where
1.
I'm scared. Okay.
I have Black Widow.
Blasphemy. I love Black Widow, actually.
I think it's good. There's
say.
a gap. There's a solid gap between
I will say
11 and 10 for me.
I will say Black Widow came way too late, and I do think that's a big con for that movie. And that's just something, oh well. Mm-hmm. You can't, go back in the past, so.
Yeah, I feel like there was so clearly a structure for this to be like maybe the middle movie of a Black Widow trilogy. Natasha deserved her own trilogy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Borderline unforgivable that she never got one.
Yeah. Oh well, it's one of those you missed your chance.
Yeah, but for what we got, I enjoyed seeing Natasha kind of in her own element. I thought the early scene, like anytime she was fighting Taskmaster, I really enjoyed that. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed introducing Yelena, and then the look at a fake family for the Soviets I thought was really interesting. Gives some really interesting comparisons to WandaVision, which I love. Mm-hmm. And it also comes off as very Bondish, which as someone who just watched all the Bond movies, I gained even more appreciation for this movie as I went through the 25 movies of that series. So very
okay. Wow.
There's a lot of Bond movies. It's intense.
I think I've only seen Daniel Craig's.
They're definitely that one and the earlier ones are definitely the ones worth watching.
I've heard that. Yeah, like one of the first several. Okay. I have number 9. Oh, I guess I'll talk about the Marvels a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
That's my number 10. Listen, I actually like the Marvels, but I hate the villain. And I don't know. It sucks because I feel like part of the reason this is so low is because of all the hate that was surrounding this movie. It kind of like ruined it for me. It like ruined the experience because I was so excited about it and everyone else was so like, this movie sucks before it comes out. Like, women suck. Like, it was just so like depressing to witness. And I almost, for a while, I stopped watching Grace Randolph because of her talks and discussions around that film. I think were very disappointing, the way she handled it. And I stopped watching her for a while because I was just very disappointed in that. So I was very disappointed in a lot of people. So it kind of ruins it for me. But I like Carol. I like Monica. I like Kamala Khan. Guys, I'm doing my best. Kamala is should be president. Anyways, so I get the pronunciations mixed up because they're spelled the same. Anyways, I love all 3 characters, so I can't hate the movie. I like it. It's just, anyways.
Sure.
Depressing conversation around the movie. But anyways, okay. Yeah. Moving on.
On to number 9. 3, 2, 1. I said the Marvels.
I said Brave New World.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do you want to
I enjoyed the Marvels.
Yeah.
I think it was a fun little romp. I think I wish it was a bigger movie.
Yeah.
I think if it was bigger stakes, like originally you hear talks about how Nia DaCosta wanted to include Galactus in it.
Ooh.
And about how clearly there's a bunch of scenes cut from it.
Yeah.
I would love to see what the original script for this movie was before it got put through the ringer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And I feel like it'll always be weird to judge this movie, at least on her back, because clearly so much was prohibited from her.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think there's a fine line between directors overstepping and allowing a director to have creative freedom over the project you're letting them do.
Yeah.
It
feels like the movie was taken away from her and she got the blame for it.
But even considering that, I think it's fun. I think it's a very fun time. I think it has awesome action, some of the most inventive action in the MCU.
Very nice.
So
didn't this come out after Secret Invasion as well? Or before?
This came out, I want to say... It came out after, actually.
Because I was thinking that kind of hurt the conversation as well.
It came out after, because all of the Skrulls were we're going to go over to this planet. And then that was the planet that got destroyed. And they're like, well, we're going to go to New Asgard now. And then it's like, cool, you didn't want to just do that in the first place? Okay. That's a hit on Secret Invasion, not the Marvels.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
Yeah. Poor the Marvels. Brave New World, I liked. I don't know. I feel like it feels like a Captain America film. And it was better than the first one. But I still think Winter Soldier and Civil War are higher for me. So, yeah. It's solid. I think the conversation around it also deserved better. I think it deserved a little bit more at the box office, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it's...
So, I don't know.
It is what it
I
is.
like it.
Because even though it's disappointing, it's still one of... for the first, while of this year, it was definitely the best performing. So, say what you will about it.
Yeah, true. Anyways,
so, okay.
alrighty.
Number 8, 3, 2, 1. Captain America Brave New World, and you have the Eternals.
I put the Eternals. Okay, so do you want to also... You just continue to piggyback off of my previous answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed Captain America Brave New World.
Yeah.
To me, that and the first Captain America First Avenger are really the same level for me.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to establish the character in their new world and the ensemble with them.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, both of their first villains were red something.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you know about that?
Yeah. What you know? Anyways.
But I really liked it. I think a lot of people, because of real world events, were incapable of being receptive to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a little unfair to it. We talked about it, and I think, it's a theme that is more than just about politics.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And I think overall it's not their fault. The world that they released their movie in.
Yeah.
So, and I think the action looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I like the characters. I do wish it took bolder strokes with setting up the future of the MCU.
I agree. And its post-credit scene was not good.
Oh, the worst post-credit scene.
So bad.
I will put that down on
I also did find
record.
the list of post-credit scenes, so we can talk about that.
Do you want to talk about...
In the spoiler section.
Yours, you said the Eternals.
Yes. So, first of all, we're getting to the part where I like these... I love all these movies, in fact, because I loved the Eternals. I was on that train of I'm pretty sure I saw it 2 or 3 times.
I think I saw it 3 times at theaters.
I mean, I'm literally wearing the sweatshirt right now. So I'm wearing an Eternal sweatshirt, if for those just listening. So, and I have another one with Druig and Makari. So it's embroidered. It's really cool. Anyways, I loved that movie. I loved, I don't know. I do wish, because there were so many new characters, that they were all explored more. But I do feel like the more interesting ones were explored enough for a first film.
Sure.
And I don't know, it was just so interesting. It's so different. It almost doesn't even feel like it's Marvel. Mm-hmm. So it was refreshing to me. I will say, I have no idea what their future is.
Yeah, I would
so
be so excited to find out Eternals 2 is coming. We're gonna throw a party if that ever gets announced.
Do something, make a show. I don't know, throw us a bone. It didn't flop, did it? I don't know.
It is one of the lowest performing.
Ugh.
And actually, hold on, I can pull it up.
Isn't it like? Doesn't it have like a 4 in front of it? I don't know what its budget was.
The Eternals had a $200 million budget.
Oh yeah, that's not
and
great.
It made $401 million.
Ooh, yeah, that's
so it got
not great.
possibly close to break even.
Close. Yeah, and its post-credit scene was also, I don't know. It was
would have been exciting if they knew they were going to get a second one.
Yeah, that's another one of those.
Yeah, and we'll get into it whenever it comes up on my
I don't
list.
know.
But
And it sucks too because
it was very promising as a first movie.
Yeah.
And I liked the characters enough, and the powers were unique.
Mm-hmm.
The lore of it was all really fascinating to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very fast, and I really wanted to see these characters again.
Yeah. So, oh well.
But yeah, and you know what I think is funny? Of its post-credit scenes, not only do we not get to see Harry Styles in Eternals 2,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see if we ever even get frickin' Blade.
Yeah.
The two things that they tease.
Yep.
Ugh.
Gosh.
Very good
Maybe that was like a cursed movie. That sucks too. Anyways, I'm ready with
on
my
to number 7.
Yes, number 7.
3, 2, 1.
Black Widow.
Eternals.
You literally keep. Oh my god. Well, we know you can't do it with Black Widow, so we're
Yeah.
breaking the cycle right here and now.
I think.
Anyways.
Wait, do we all have the same? I think we have the same ones listed in 7 and below.
Oh yeah, we
Because
do.
now we're officially so.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're basically on the same page.
But yeah, I love Eternals. I think I literally said everything there is to say about how I feel
Yeah.
about it already. But go on
Yeah.
about Black Widow.
I love Black Widow. Again, I think a huge detriment to the movie is just that it came out too late. Can't really do anything about it. But I don't know. It's almost like I did feel like I wanted to see more from Natasha after her end in Endgame. And so I'm glad we got this. I wish we got it earlier, and like a trilogy like you said, but I really liked it. I don't know. It's like just a very solid movie to me. I still feel really good about it. I love Yelena. I loved the family dynamic, the exploration of, who she was growing up, and then getting to defeat the man that brought her and her family and so many other women so much pain. I like the whole like Taskmaster's powers, but also her story. So I don't know. It's just very solid to me, and I've heard people say Dreykov is a bad villain, and I totally disagree. I think he's a very scary villain and a very real villain. So I don't know. I like it.
Yeah.
So
Great points.
Yeah.
And I still like this movie.
yeah,
So I like it a lot.
yeah,
Between 7 and 10, where I have Black Widow, like these are all very solid movies within like a 0.5 apart from each other
yeah,
for me.
yeah. I agree. I haven't written down the next one.
Oh, God, why are you slacking?
My marker's not working. I'm literally. Oh my gosh, we have to buy new markers soon. This is so bad. No, it's literally not working. Okay.
You are doing
1 second.
so good. You're doing so great. I'm just going to keep talking about the Eternals while she's struggling. What else did I like about the Eternals? I liked the soft introduction of Black Knight. I loved his little post-credit scene at the end where he had the sword. Still really
that's
hope
much better.
he's
Okay.
part of the Midnight Suns. I think he'd be a very interesting and different addition to that team. Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay, about time.
Like, how long do I have to get? Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. I have Shang-Chi.
Wait, I didn't write the Black Widow thing. I put Deadpool and Wolverine, which might be a hot take.
That is.
It's gonna be okay,
that is
guys.
low.
It's gonna be okay.
But I do know there's a fraction of people who didn't absolutely adore that movie, which is valid.
Well, I don't know. I really liked that movie. Like, I'm at the point where I'm like, I really like all these movies. So
For sure. I put Shang-Chi. I think it is a very strong introduction to this character.
yeah,
I think because of the type of character who's playing, who is very regretful of the past,
Yeah.
I think he doesn't have as much immediate personality as some of the other characters
Okay.
that have their own movies.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think he has such a fun ensemble around him.
Yeah.
Like, such a strong villain with his father.
Oh, yeah.
The rings,
Such great action.
The rings are such a unique weapon, and the way they use it is just
Yeah.
fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I love the whole finale. I love all of the different visuals throughout the movie, the fight scenes.
Yeah.
Like, the casual Easter eggs, which are, like, you see these awesome things happening, but they're not even a big part of the movie. And
Yeah.
they don't need to be because the movie's still strong.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of awesome stuff. Super love Shang-Chi. Super excited it's getting a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Really interested to see what that character ends up doing. And I hope that Simu Liu adds maybe a little bit more personality to it. Not a diss on him. I think...
I mean, it's one of his first movies, and so I think you can kind of tell.
I can very much look forward to seeing him grow with the character.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree.
If Thor was able to shortchange on movie 3 to pivot what his character was on movie 3, he can change his character.
He can very much, yeah. And I'm excited for him in Doomsday.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. And I love how enthusiastic he is about his character. I think it's very fun
to see it.
Yeah. Deadpool and Wolverine, I really liked it. I love both of those characters, and they were an amazing duo. And it had wonderful action, solid story, especially considering it was an introduction to him being in the MCU. Thought that was great. They had some fun cameos. I think I will say some of those cameos and moments are where it brings it down just a little bit for me. Just a little bit.
I have one that brings it down.
Yeah, and that is Gambit.
That is unfortunately.
So.
Not just Gambit, Channing Tatum's Gambit.
Yes,
I love
specifically.
Gambit.
Oh, me too. Like
And-
X-Men 97, absolutely love Gambit. I just really don't like Channing Tatum. I'm so sorry that I don't get it, I guess. We don't get it.
And I like Channing Tatum in, like, he did Blink Twice, and
so
he was
many
really
things,
good.
yeah.
And I really wanted to see him in the Fly Me to the Moon movie, which I'm still really excited to watch eventually.
He was good in that movie, yeah.
So it's not that I don't necessarily not like him, but him as Gambit just doesn't read to me.
It just doesn't. I don't like what he's doing with the character.
And the fact that you can't understand what he's saying, it's like this.
I get it's supposed to be funny, but it's just like
this is a fine one-off.
Yeah.
Like, and the fact
and unfortunately,
that
it's
everyone's
not.
taking it on is like, oh my god, he needs to be the next Gambit. I'm like, that's what you took from this?
No.
This feels like, man, isn't it crazy that this almost happened? Mm-hmm. That's how I read that.
And unfortunately, he's gonna be in Doomsday. Probably. I mean, I assume as Gambit.
No,
I guess we don't know, but
really don't know.
Anyways, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I love Cassandra Nova. I think that was a really cool villain. So yeah. Okay, let me see. Let me write down my next one.
All right. While you're doing that, I'll go ahead and even just.
Wait, no, I'm ready.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's fast. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, it's a short name.
I have Thunderbolts at number 5.
Now
you have Shang-Chi.
Now it's my turn to copy you with Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I think Thunderbolts was really strong. I would say it has some awesome action scenes. I think the things that are above it on my list are movies that have, like, constant, really good action scenes.
Yeah.
And I would say even the ones that don't hit emotionally a little harder than Thunderbolts does, or at least more consistently. Mm-hmm. Thunderbolts, really fun. Love the group. Mm-hmm. I would just maybe, if it had a little more action, it would be higher.
Yeah, it did lack a little bit of action, but the action that it did have was really good.
Really strong, which is moreover like.
And it also had
that
really
further
good
leads
story
into the idea
and
of give me a little more.
Yeah, again, just make it a little longer. But yeah, I agree. It's hard because it's like I wouldn't replace anything with action. I would just add it in between things. Like I really like the character work. Like they used their time very well. They have wonderful character work and themes, and I don't know. I definitely would not want to sacrifice that for action.
For sure.
But yeah, I totally agree.
But I think this was a movie that didn't need to.
Yeah, and I love Shang-Chi. I think the action is it's not only really compelling to watch, but it's very unique and it's very beautiful. And I don't know if you can say that about much other action scenes. Like they can be unique, but I don't know how many times I would say that it's beautiful.
Yeah, it does like visual like storytelling with its action scenes.
Yeah.
Really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say you don't see that in a lot of movies.
Oh. And I just really liked the exploration of the family dynamics, and especially his sister is really interesting, Xiling, I think. Yeah, she's awesome, and maybe she's up to something at the end. That's what I actually really like that post-credit scene.
Yeah,
Still,
sure.
even though that hasn't really led into anything.
Well, but
it's not a dead end
as of right
either.
now, he's still getting a sequel at some point.
Yeah, so.
And Destin Daniel Cretton, who is doing Spider-Man Brand New Day now. He was supposed to do Kang Dynasty. As long as he's still in the Marvel circle, I think there's no reason to assume that will get pushed away anytime soon. So I still have so much confidence that movie will lead into stuff for the MCU, and I'm super excited. I really loved just everything that movie had to offer and introduce.
Yeah, me too. Okay, I have my number 4.
3, 2, 1.
Thunderbolts.
So many of our stuff is just flipped.
Yeah.
And I will say I think Deadpool and Wolverine has some, I would say, more issues for me than Thunderbolts does.
Okay.
But just the action is like
so good,
so
and the dynamic.
good. And their dynamic is great, and like just some unforgettable scenes there. Some things that do prevent it from being like almost a 10 out of 10, because I was tempted to give it a 10 out of 10, but I think the fact that it just throws in that he's no longer with, I think her name was Vanessa.
Yeah.
It feels very like put in, and it feels like it doesn't add a ton to it, and it feels like,
Yeah, I totally agree.
And then another point that just kind of rubs me the wrong way is like his talk about how multiverse movies are bad and Marvel needs to stop doing them when you're doing a multiverse movie really well, by the way.
Yeah.
And also, you don't end in the MCU, Ryan Reynolds, so if we stop doing multiverse movies, we don't get to see you again.
Yeah.
And it feels too preachy to the point where it's like, I mean what I'm saying here, so that the audience likes me, but you don't do anything about the fact that anytime we see you, it's still technically going to be a multiverse movie at this point. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah. But I will say, seeing Chris Evans and the way they used him was so fun. I think it was done really well. And there have been several cameos in Phase 4 and 5 that I'm like, oh, this is cheesy, or this is not fleshed out. This is just, to garner excitement. And I'm like, no, I feel like this was a fun character to see again. It was unexpected. That was really fun. That gag was really fun when he realized he was not playing Captain America. You were like, oh, I kind of love this. And then he was funny. He was like still Johnny, and he still got it. So I think that's great for him. And I wouldn't mind if he, there are whispers that he's going to be in Doomsday / Secret Wars. And I wouldn't mind if that's the character he's playing. I think I would want him back as Captain America.
He's going to be an evil version of Captain America.
He
I've
needs
heard
to
the
either be
idea that
evil.
it's the people that we lost in Endgame as like more evil variants of them.
Okay.
And kind of like an old MCU versus the new one. And I think that's an interesting thing if you do it right.
I actually totally agree. I just don't want like the classic Captain America to come back, because I don't want,
in any case, if he comes back, if that is permanent, that is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, that's the very wrong thing to do.
Yeah, so.
Anyways,
number 3. We're in our top 3.
My top 3 is like
I think
literally
we have
peak.
the same top 3 in there.
Okay.
Yeah, because we haven't said my top 3. So that's
but
funny.
what order?
I know. I'm interested.
That's the thing.
Just seeing that. So 3, 2, 1. I have Black Panther: Wakanda
Yes!
Forever, and so do you. Yeah, this one.
Such a good and emotional movie.
Yeah, I loved this movie.
Well, like low-key, that might have been the best, if not one of the best villains.
Oh, I love Namor.
Oh my gosh,
Like,
Namor is amazing.
Like, he could have been such a lame character to adapt, but
and the fact that they gave him wings on his ankles and it didn't feel cheesy. Ryan Coogler, you are amazing.
It was so cool the way he flew through the air,
right?
Like almost like he was swimming through the air.
Oh my gosh,
such a great villain.
Yeah,
loved being in his kingdom as much as I liked being in Wakanda, which is a huge thing to say.
Yeah,
I loved Shuri's arc and her comparison to becoming like Namor. They were fascinating foils, and I love that they're both still in the toolbox to go and do stuff. They're both going to be
Yep.
in Doomsday, which is going to be great.
Yep.
So just all around some awesome stuff, great visuals. And I actually really like Shuri as Black Panther in this movie. And I
Me
think
too.
what I really love about the movie is that it really talks about losing such a big figure within the black community, which obviously the black community, and honestly just everyone did with the passing of Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
And I think it was just such a nice tribute to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really uplifting for the future. And you can get over that loss, and there's so much more to look forward to while remembering who and what we had.
Yep. I totally agree. I have so much respect that the way they handled what they were given. I think that's just phenomenal. And also, Angela Bassett was robbed of that Oscar. Her or Stephanie Sue. Oh my gosh, it needed to be one of them. But anyways,
For sure.
I just have to shout her out anytime I get a chance because they both were robbed.
Okay.
They should have gotten the first double Oscar award. Honestly, yeah. But anyways, okay, here's our little reveal here.
3, 2, 1. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
The same top 3.
Yep.
Slay.
Super fun one. I don't know if we actually talked about it on here or if we talked about it in the car earlier, but I think Guardians 1 is kind of overshadowed a lot by Volume 2.
Interesting.
Which I kind of like. I think Volume 2 is absolutely a great movie.
Yeah.
But I think the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie is like a really iconic moment.
Oh yeah.
In pop culture.
Ooh, I will say, out of all the origin stories we were talking about, they have a really strong one.
Really strong one.
Oh, that is interesting to bring up.
So
yeah,
I don't know. I love Guardians 3. I think it is as strong, if not just a touch stronger than Guardians 1.
I agree.
I think it has so much heart. I think it's a very bittersweet ending. I think it's impressive they managed to have so much emotion in a goodbye when it's not a death.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it even more impressive of how heavy the movie feels. But it still has...
And also just Rocket's storyline is... Oh my god. I cried so much watching that movie, and I also watched that one 2 or 3 times. So
yeah. So
it's crazy.
And then, oh my god, I wonder what yours is going to be.
Which one are we missing?
Hold on. Are you still holding? You better be holding on.
Okay, I'm about to move on. I'm showing the camera.
Spider-Man, No Way Home. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
The movie that made, it was $2 billion, right?
I think
It
so.
cost $2 billion.
Yeah.
So, definitely,
A wild
for
amount
a
of money.
reason, the bringing of so many different iconic Spider-Man actors together.
Yeah.
Just super great, super fun.
One of the only movies I've ever seen in somewhat IMAX, not the true IMAX form, but quote unquote, I think it's called digital IMAX.
Okay.
That's I think the only movie I've ever seen in digital IMAX, and it was such an experience. When I tell you, not theoretically, that's the wrong word. Technically, it was a wild, I should say not horrible, wild theater experience. But because I was so equally excited for the movie, I did not care that people were cheering and loud. I was right there with them. When Andrew Garfield shows up and we see him in the distance and we know it's him, you can't replicate that moment. There's not been an MCU moment that has been like that for me, to be totally honest.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so, and it's one of those, a wonderful example of cameos being used really well and purposely.
Cameos that are more than just they come and go, but they add something to, their specific presence adds something.
Yeah.
And
it's so great. I just love that movie. I love Spider-Man as a character. He's my He's my second favorite Marvel character, and my favorite male Marvel character, because Scarlet Witch is my favorite and female character. Anyways, so that's such a wonderful way to end his first trilogy, and I'm so excited for the start of his next one. So excited. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
anyways,
that being said,
do you have any other notes on it?
on Spider-Man No Way Home?
Mm-hmm.
you hit a lot of great notes. I loved seeing I loved seeing all the villains again. Like,
Okay.
kind of giving some of them chances to shine more than their original movies did.
Yeah.
And then even upgrading the ones who did really great
Oh,
inside
especially
their own
Andrew
movies.
Garfield's moment of saving MJ. I'm like, please, please, I can't cry anymore. I can't.
Yeah, it was
It's
just-
one of those, like, it could have so been cheesy, but it wasn't. It was so, like, this needed to happen, and I'm so glad it did. And it was handled really well.
Yeah,
Ugh.
all around, just such an amazing experience, a great movie, and I love specifically the arc that Tom Holland's Peter goes through.
Yep.
And
it's still very much his movie.
For
I
sure.
think that's great.
And getting him into the mindset of officially being a strong, independent Spider-Man
Yeah.
who can stand on his own. So I'm very excited to see him in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I think the director is from Shang-Chi, so I think that movie is just slated to be a knockout, even just on paper without seeing a script or a trailer right now. So it already,
very excited.
honestly, that movie already sounds stronger than I would say Doomsday and Secret Wars inherently is on paper. So just very excited to see that, and that's our stance on movies post Endgame. Let us know what y'all's are in the comments. We'd love to see how you compare to us.
Okay, now our spoilers section.
Yep, you have been warned, and there are some big spoilers.
Wee, wee,
So,
wee.
spoilers in 3, 2, 1. They're the new Avengers.
Yes,
So
the
that is-
asterisk.
That is what the asterisk is for. It is a holding name for the new Avengers.
Yeah.
So personally, I thought it was going to be for the Dark Avengers, but it ends with them getting a whole public presentation or announcement that they are the new team that Valentine had been working on in secret and hard launching them with saving New York City from the void. And so now they are living it up in Avengers Tower.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Valentina bought Avengers Tower.
Yes, but we knew that
So
just
that's
from
fun.
the trailer.
Yeah. I also think it's cool at that gala that she has the original A from the original tower. I think that's cool. She has a lot, which is interesting. She's definitely got her hands in a lot of things.
In the background of the penthouse scene.
So very cool.
So very interesting. I think the idea that they are the new Avengers is a very bold choice. I like that they aren't the Avengers because I think that does open it up for Sam to continue to make his own team.
Yeah.
Which I know he was.
Which is interesting
anyways.
because the post-credit scene has him. Also, spoilers for the post-credit scene. I guess we already warned you though.
We're already in spoilers.
Yeah. Is that he sued them for the name because he copyrighted the Avengers name, which I think is petty, but also like.
Well, that's what you do when you're supposed to be leading the Avengers.
I guess, but I mean,
I would believe
again,
someone.
if they beat you to it, sucks. Like maybe you should have gotten to it quicker, but whatever. I don't know.
Then I think that's more of a note on Brave New World.
Yeah.
Why does he not have an Avengers team? At
Yep.
least the idea of who
Why
he calls
was
yet.
Yeah, why was the post-credit scene not him gathering people?
Yeah.
So, like you could have had one, I think it was like the Marvels where you have Kamala and Kate.
Kate, yeah.
Like you could have had something like that. That would have been perfect. Much more relevant and much just better in general than whatever we got. So
For sure.
yeah.
But I wanted to talk real quick about what the new Avengers team looks like in the comics. So
Okay.
I will say there is never a team that looks like this. For the most part, anytime there is a new Avengers team, it is because there is some kind of split down the middle, and they had to differentiate somehow. Think Civil War, and events similar to that. Or if like the Avengers ended up like shutting down and then they were coming back for whatever reason. So there are a couple different iterations of the team. The founding team is Iron Man, Captain America, Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Sentry. So Sentry is on that original team. Post Civil War, it is Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Echo, Spider-Woman, Doctor Strange, Iron Fist, and Ronin. Post Secret Invasion, it is Bucky, Mockingbird, which is Glenn's wife, Miss Marvel, when Carol had the role of Miss Marvel.
Okay.
Spider-Woman and Power Woman, which apparently is an alias that Jessica Jones went by at some point.
Okay.
Time runs out. It has a bunch of... Apparently that storyline has a lot to do with, like, X-Men. So this one has Sunspot, Cannonball, Black Widow, some characters named Spasher, Manifold, Validator, and Pod. Don't know who they are. And Shang-Chi. Know that one.
Okay.
And in the all-new, all-different, which I think is the most recent version of this team,
Okay.
is when it had Wiccan, Hulkling, Songbird, who a lot of people expected to be in this movie, and arguably she sort of is.
Yeah.
Squirrel Girl, White Tiger, Ava Ayala, Hector Ayala's sister, and Power Man, but not Luke Cage.
Okay.
But apparently this Power Man is the son of Shades, which is one of the, like... He's the one with the sunglasses from the Luke Cage series.
Okay.
So, it's such a weird cut. Just very interesting stuff I found when I was looking at what this team is supposed to look like. So
Yeah, nice to throw out.
So all around, clearly, as the MCU does, it's doing its own thing here.
Yeah.
Which I'm honestly all for. This is a very bold swing. And clearly, in universe, it's also supposed to be a very bold swing, which I love.
Yeah.
I love the way this whole movie acts in universe as the internet reacted in the real universe.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think it's very fun to see them kind of take hold of that and be like, yep, we knew you were going to act like this, and it was purposeful. That is some Valentina DeFontaine stuff right there.
I'm saying.
So, super fun. And then I
Yeah.
love the end credits and the whole, like, it's... Are these my Avengers? Not my Avengers. What is this team?
Yeah.
Super love all of that.
Yeah. Do you want to get right into the cast?
Before we get into the cast, I think one of the biggest things I kind of wanted to jump to is Taskmaster, because that is a pretty quick conversation to have.
Yeah. So, she does, in fact, die. She does get killed by Ghost because they are all sent after each other to kill each other. And Ghost actually succeeds. And it almost pretty much ends there. There's a little comment later where she's like talking to Yelena, like, oh, you knew her? And she's like, yep. And that's it.
She didn't have a great life. She killed people and then she died. The same will happen for us.
Yeah.
And it's very weird. I think the
Sucks.
note that she dies on is very weird because it's not anything where, like, she's in like a quote unquote, I would say, like, fair fight and loses.
Yeah.
It's a thing where she's trying to, like, because every character in that vault is trying to kill someone and is trying to be killed by someone different. So she's trying to, like, fight the person who's trying to kill her, which is
Ghost.
no, she's trying to kill Wyatt.
Yeah.
So she's trying to kill U.S. Agent,
Yeah.
and Ghost is trying to kill her. And so whenever she's trying to take the shot on Walker, Ghost comes up and
Shoots
like
her in the head.
appears from nowhere and shoots her point blank in the head.
Yeah.
And I think just, while I think that could be fine, it feels like the movie doesn't quite know how to feel about that moment. And so I feel weird about it.
Yeah.
Overall, I think Taskmaster's inclusion in this, maybe not even necessarily this movie, but in the advertising campaign, feels very weird.
Yeah.
So...
Because the actress, you said, only went to the LA premiere. I don't know if that meant she wasn't invited to the others or if she just didn't go, but I feel like either way.
And you see
So
shots in
weird.
the trailer of her being in the location where they fight Sentry towards the end.
In the tower.
Yeah, and I would be very surprised to hear that they added a whole frickin' character to be videotized in there than her being cut out of it.
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder, was there a version of this film where she was in it much more?
Yeah.
And that for some reason they felt inclined to cut her out? Like, because it doesn't feel like it's a funny moment whenever she dies, and it's like...
No, but it's not necessarily, like, really emotional either.
Yeah.
It's like you said, like, you just really don't know how to feel about it because
Like
the movie doesn't
and
know
it
how
doesn't
to
even
feel about
stop.
it.
Like, it doesn't even stop everyone. It's just kind of a moment where they're like, "Oh, that happened." Dot dot dot. Anyways, and it just feels weird. Because the character could have just not been included.
Yeah.
And they got this new look, and I think a pretty cool look as well.
Yeah.
We talked about how in Black Widow, that character, when in mask, was played by a man.
Yeah.
That was not the case here. So it was I think this could have been
her mask it's not like nanotech, but it's like it's not quite Iron Man either, but it's like closer towards that because it's like little pieces are clunking off instead of like one big mask piece like Iron Man. I don't know. I thought that was really cool, and that's like what people want from helmets nowadays. So, or so they say. So.
Yeah, I was very surprised to even see her like face open because I was thinking if she does have such a small role in this movie, why would they even show her face in the first place and pay her to be in this movie? It feels very weird.
Yeah.
And then she wasn't invited to the press tour, so they weren't keeping up the illusion that she was supposed to be a big part of this movie. But she was still in all of the campaigns and the box cereal.
Yeah.
And
all the posters.
It all around feels very weird. She wasn't... Obviously, we knew she wasn't going to be in Doomsday because she was the only person in this movie who didn't get a chair.
Yeah, that was the other thing. It's almost kind of spoiled. Like, yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily know that she was going to die, but like, we knew she wasn't going to be in Doomsday, so it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, all around, it just makes me feel very weird. I kind of wonder if there was some behind-the-scenes stuff that we'll hear about sometime in the next couple years.
I don't know.
Where it's like, I was cut out of this movie, and then Marvel's going to be like, well, we did it because of XYZ.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's something that we are missing as a basic audience member.
I don't know.
And I'd be very fascinated to be a fly on the wall in the conversation of why.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just one conversation I wanted to get out of the way.
Yeah.
I think we can just kind of go down our cast list now.
Yeah, somewhat go through them fast.
Sure.
Looking at you.
We had Yelena Belova as Florence Pugh. We talked about her. She does great. Yeah. Her opening scene of jumping off the tower, she did that practical. Mm-hmm. I think you can see hints of her trying to be maybe the female Tom Cruise, which I think would be very fun.
Yeah. I hope she does more stunts. She's done a lot of things in real life, like her doing it. So I think it's cool. Like she shaved her head for We Live in Time, and I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, you love to see an actor who commits.
Yep.
And she's certainly on her. She's done a lot of progress to show that she's a committed actress.
Absolutely.
We see her. She's very lost in the beginning of the movie. She wants to find purpose. She expresses to her dad, who she hasn't seen in over a year, that she's alone. She doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. She isn't happy, but she's good at what she's doing. Yeah. And then she calls Val and is like, I want to have something more public facing. I want to, she doesn't say be a hero, but she wants to do...
She's encouraged to be more like her sister.
Yes.
And she does. She tries to go down that route. So... And then everything goes crazy.
And then she's sent on the bunker mission where everyone's being sent there to kill each other.
Yeah.
What I really like in the whole opening scene is specifically is her connection with Bob. And throughout it, you see them form this connection of he's defenseless, but I'm going to protect him.
Yeah. Or so he thinks. He's not defenseless, but...
Well, sure, but to her, he is.
Yeah. As far as anybody knows.
It's a very sincere connection. You see him... clearly struggling with his own stuff. Clearly he's mentally unwell. He's talking to himself. He doesn't know where he comes from. But he seems pretty chill with the fact he doesn't know what's going on. With a really quirky little personality. I just really love the idea that he wants to do more. She wants to keep him alive, so she doesn't listen to him. And it's just very sweet. It feels very like protect him at all costs. Yeah.
It feels like almost like an older sister, younger brother kind of dynamic where it's like, it's just, he's like baby girl. And she's like, I gotta protect him. And I just love that.
Yeah. And I love her constantly kind of questioning if she can be a hero. Her and all of the other characters are clearly dealing with a lot of regrets. Whenever she touches Sentry, she goes to her first Red Room mission where she brought out a little girl into an abandoned forest, and she was killed by someone in the Red Room. And I think it's interesting that's the first thing that we saw. I love seeing the lore drops.
Yeah.
And then we see a couple more. We see there's a little race in the red room where everyone has to put a gun together the quickest. Everyone else gets their wrist literally whipped down the table.
Because she's the first.
Yes.
So she wins, I guess, and then everybody else gets their hands whipped.
Yeah. So she's such a fascinating character. I think it's such a testament to her and her writing that she doesn't feel like Black Widow. They feel like very different characters, even though they come from the same place. And it's
very fascinating.
It's really great to see, I think.
Yeah.
I loved Black Widow, but I love Yelena as well. And I would say if I had to pick between them, I'd pick Yelena. I think she has a lot of personality, a lot of fun. She's very fun to be around almost all the time, and she always has a dynamic with every person she shares a scene with. I love Yelena. I'm a Yelena stan.
I love her and Hawkeye so much. Anyways. And she gets her little eyeliner in this movie too, and I love that. Yeah.
And then
it's great.
I loved at the end she has a scene first with Red Guardian.
Yes.
Where she
very
says,
emotional.
"Daddy, I'm so alone," and she starts breaking down into this.
That's the first moment that almost got me. I was like, "Oh."
It's like you,
so
because immediately whenever you hear her break down, it's like that is like having a dog beg to you, and it's like, oh, you're doing like, oh, it's
hurting
almost like
my heart.
I'd almost be curious if she like studied how to exactly get those emotions out, because it feels almost like perfectly orchestrated the way she does her performance to like elicit the same reaction from a group of people. It's just so like, oh,
how to be a puppy.
No kidding.
How to be a wounded puppy specifically.
And then I love Red Guardian's line for her because he constantly compares the team to and names the Thunderbolts after her soccer team whenever she was working undercover.
Yeah, they never won a game. I thought that was really funny.
And someone pooped on the field.
That's honestly hilarious. But yeah.
I love the line where he was saying, "You told me you wanted to be a goalie on that team because you wanted to be the person everyone could rely on if they made a mistake." And that, I feel like, is such a core to her character.
Yeah.
I think that's a reason why she connects and has such chemistry with literally every person she has a scene with. And I think it's why she, in this movie, needs to be the one that brings Bob down from such an intense scene. And I love that scene where Bob is fighting the Void, both of which are himself. And I think that's...
By doing so, it's starting to consume him, like the Void, but she's just clinging on to him, like, you're not alone. So powerful.
I love it, because I love the idea that you would think that this, in an action movie, in this kind of superhero genre movie, the answer would be you punch your way out, you fight your way out. These are trained killers and mercenaries, and that's all that they know how to do. It's all that they know that they're good at, and it's how they get out of their problems. But in a situation like this, in a very real situation like this, you can't punch your way out. You can't fight your way out. You can't like scheme or even plan your way out. You just kind of, you find people that can be there and kind of help you through it.
Yeah.
And I
think that's really awesome.
The way they kind of do that is it's beautiful. It's very emotional. It's clearly connecting with so many people.
Yeah.
And I've seen some people say the big fight, like the big climax of this movie needed more action. But I don't think it does, because that's not what gets rid of the Void.
Yeah.
Yelena's first line is her monologuing about this void she feels in her life.
Yep.
And, you know, everyone's trying to find a way out of that. And as the climax shows, it's not alone. And I love that. I think it hits really hard.
Yeah. Very nice. Speaking of Sentry and Void.
Yes, let's please go into that one. Played by Lewis Pullman.
Gotta go a little faster.
This is going to be a long episode, okay? Stay strapped.
Well, you're the one yapping, okay? Here's our certified yapper over here. It's okay. It's fine.
Take us away, Sentry.
Bob. So first of all, he's awesome. He's like, he has the comedic relief when he needs to be, and then he's also really good at being serious. He's such a nuanced character. And I love that for him. I love that his dynamic with the team. I love his story. I want to know even more about him and his past as well. We know like a lot of his darkness is his parents. Well, I guess I was going to say fought a lot, but it's more like his dad was abusive to his mom. And he
would try to stand up, and he'd always be told that he's making things worse. I think further leading into that idea is, can he be a hero, or can these people be a hero, or will they make it worse?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like the Void talks to him and he says, you know, did you really think you could save these people? Like, you can't even save yourself. And he's just, I mean, it's himself, the darkest parts of himself, you know, saying these horrible things. And we know that means because he thinks them. But then you just have this whole team of people, especially Elena at the head of it, just saying, like, it's not true. Like, whatever they tell you, you can feel all these things, but you're not alone in that. And we also feel this darkness, and we're going to get through that together. And it's like, oh my God, it's so tear-jerking. It's great. And also, his suit looks really cool. I was personally not a huge fan of the blonde on him.
I like the idea that it looks like it shouldn't be there, because it's making him
that is
something
very
that
true.
he's not.
Yeah, and even he says that. He says, I don't know about the blonde. Like, he mentions it multiple times to where Valentina's like, I feel like this is about the hair, even though you're saying it's not about the hair. I'm like,
why do you keep talking about the hair?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I get that. And you should be talking about the hair because you look so much better with brown hair. Anyways, so it just makes me think of Steven Yeun with blonde hair. I'm like, ugh. No. No. He would have looked, I don't know. He would have looked really cool as well. But I'm really glad that Louis Pullman
the dyed
Sentry.
blonde hair on him would have been interesting.
Oh my gosh.
I put on my notes that Steven Yeun as this character, it would have been, I think, very different.
Way different. And not necessarily bad, but it just wouldn't have fit in what they were doing with this movie.
Yeah, especially because we already see him doing a performance as someone who's similar, I would say, with Mark.
Yeah.
In Invincible. Mm-hmm. And I think
there are some similarities there. Yeah.
I think it would have been, you know, I feel like he could have accidentally hit a very similar note to Mark. And then also we've talked in our recent thing is we don't love what Mark is doing, how Mark is kind of being in these days. And I think that in the latest season is the closest he is to Sentry. Mm-hmm. So that further kind of leads me into the idea that I don't know if I would have loved Sentry nearly as much.
I agree.
With
I love
Steven
what we
Yeun.
got. So
it is very strong.
Not that Steven Yeun. I mean, find another role for him because he's great. But yeah, that ship has sailed, and I don't mind it.
Absolutely, I love kind of the testing, like the focus testing behind why Sentry looks the way he does. I love that whole thing. It's very Homelander, but I think the performance and honestly the whole telekinesis power that he now has makes it feel just different enough to be like doing its own thing.
Yeah, and I love those like discovering your powers and getting control of them kind of thing. So I loved that scene. I thought that was very fun.
Yeah, and then that fight scene with all of the Thunderbolts against Sentry is awesome. It is a quick and one shot of him constantly just like being unfazed by everything they have to throw
literally
bending the shield. I almost really wish we never saw his shield get bent in the trailer. Yeah. I knew at some point that was going to happen, and what a fun reveal it would have been to see him bend the shield for the first time.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's so awesome, just such raw power. And I like in this case that he's such a powerhouse, but in this case, he can't use it going forward without becoming evil.
Yeah.
And I think it's something to be said about having
risking evil, rather.
Such like unlimited and unstoppable power.
Like, nope, I'm just gonna read a book so I don't destroy the universe. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
I think it's very, very
I did the dishes though.
And I loved his whole conversation about like with Val when he's like, so why do I have to take orders from you? You said I'm a god. He's like, no, I didn't say that. Well, you said I'm stronger than all the Avengers, and there is at least one god on
I
there.
loved that.
What a great
I was
line.
like, that's so true. Yeah. So I love it.
Yeah, I would love to see how this project worked and maybe why it worked. I did point out that we did see Loki's scepter in the background in the tower, so maybe there's something there. That's the scepter that, with the Mind Stone, that's what gave us
Wanda and Pietro.
So maybe there was some residual energy that they were able to, like,
maybe. Hey, just a little flick. Because they also said it wasn't supposed to work on those test subjects. It was like the trial phase. And then they were going to actually try it on somebody else.
For sure.
But it already worked. So that is very interesting. I want to know more about that.
Yeah, and then I think the way the Void looked, I
so
loved that he was all dark black.
Yeah.
And then the eyes
just
glowing
saw the
yellow.
eyes. I will say there was a tiny little bit. I was waiting to see like a little bit of teeth too, because I was waiting for that, and we did see a little bit towards the end.
That was scary.
Yeah, I was really hoping they were gonna do it, and I'm so glad they did. So.
And I also just love the way he performed as the Void.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like such a like
literally
it feels so heavy.
Yes.
It feels exactly like.
It's almost like the opposite of Bob. Even though Bob doesn't seem very positive, he's still very like, oh, you know, whatever. Like, he'll very, like, casually say...
Well, he's a very... I would say he's a very light character.
Yeah,
and then the Void
even
is
when
just
he's
so,
being
like,
heavy.
And the
But
Void
the Void is
so
embracing the
heavy.
heaviness. Yeah.
He talks so slow.
Yeah.
And the way that he moves, and it's just... Oh, it's so...
So great. Some great performances there.
It's chilling.
Also, I keep forgetting this, even though I just watched this movie, but he's in Top Gun Maverick, also playing a character named Bob, and I just love that for him. He like barely gets screen time in that movie.
Into the Bobverse.
But I think it's kind of fun. So yeah.
And then also I love that it's the New Avengers and Bob will return in Doomsday.
Yeah, I loved that title. That was great. That got a lot of cackles from the audience. We had a very fun audience. Like, it was not obnoxious whatsoever. It was kind of like Sinners. Sinners experience.
They were always like reacting at the right moment.
Exactly. Laughing, gasping, you know, whatever. At exactly the right moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping into the other team members, we had Red Guardian. He doesn't have a ton to do here. He's really kind of just here to pull some emotion from Yelena.
Yeah, and have some laughs.
And he's funny, for sure.
He's the comedic relief. I was telling Luke that I feel like he came in at exactly the right time when I needed him. Like, I needed that comic relief from him. It was so refreshing. It wasn't like I was not liking what was happening up until this point, but it was pretty heavy, and I was needing something like that. So,
and his entrance scene with the limo and being like, Yelena, it's your dad.
Yelena!
Do you make some friends?
He's so funny.
He's so funny.
The whole scene was perfect.
And then I really like the idea that he is getting another chance to be a dad.
Yeah.
They talk about how he was late. Yelena needed him whenever her sister died. And he was like, I am sorry that I wasn't there, but I'm here now.
And he was saying, like, you know, I didn't know that you would want me. And I'm like, oh, that's really sad. But I was hoping he would say something like, and I didn't know if I even, like, deserved to have you around. I wish he said something like that. But I liked what we got.
Sure,
I thought that was very emotional. So, because I do feel like, even though he's not a great dad, like, I mean, he's not a very, like, present dad, I would say. But I do really think in his heart he does care. He just doesn't know how or when to show that. And I think he's learning. And that's what he says. He says, you know, it's good to know that you wanted me there. I'm very much willing to be there. I didn't know that's what you wanted. And, you know, he could have reached out, but I don't know if he ever really thought about it. It's not like the scenario where he is actively choosing to be absent. It's like he doesn't know how to be present. And I think that's very interesting.
That's a really great way to put it.
Yeah.
Overall, I was surprised at how much I really liked Red Guardian here. I did not love him in Black Widow. I think he's actually one of the weaker parts for me.
Okay.
I think he has some great laughs in there for sure, but overall, it didn't feel like a character I needed to see again. And I'm very glad that they changed my mind on that. I really liked seeing him here again.
Although I would have liked to see what his Void memory was.
I would be very interested to see what his Void was.
Yeah.
It feels like he's the most just kind of like here for Yelena. And like, obviously he wasn't sent on the mission to be in there, so he really is just kind of tacked in here because of Yelena.
Yeah.
Which is really funny. I love the reveal that he.
But then he's on a team working for Valentina by the end.
And I love that he was the one driving
wanted.
her in the taxi. That reveal was killing me. The slow pan over, and I was like, "There's no way he's driving. There's no way he's driving."
Because he has a limo service. That is
funny.
really funny. That
And
she
then
doesn't have a private driver. Okay.
And then at the end, he ends up on the Wheaties box.
Yeah.
I love that for him. And that whole like post-credit scene is so funny. Like, I'm on that.
That's what it needs to be. It needs to be one funny scene that doesn't really lead anywhere or add anything, just something fun and lighthearted. Like the shawarma scene, I love that post-credit scene way back when for the Avengers movie. Love that scene. And then it teases Thanos. So I'm like, that's exactly what
Duality.
you should do. Do two every time. One funny, one like
perfectly balanced as all things should be.
Yeah. Getting you excited for the next movie. Yeah.
On to the next one. We had U.S. Agent.
He's still a jerk in this movie. They did not try to like change his personality whatsoever.
And I think that's good. I really think he has a unique addition to this team where he is putting on a front similar to Red Guardian.
Yeah.
But
he's trying to compensate for
That's a great word for his character.
Yeah.
And
he's trying to say, I'm still like awesome. I'm still Captain America. Like, I have a wife and a kid, even though.
And I think it really ties into the like you see his Void scene. I wish there was a little more to the Void scene that we didn't see in the trailer, because already just that scene, people were breaking down like how great it is that like you see this man focused on what he had and lost, and clearly it's going to have him lose what he still has and what's there for him after that. And
they mentioned that he loses it, but I wish we saw it, like in the Void scene, or maybe they can even mention
in the Void
it.
Scene, it's very presumed that that's not something reliable
in
his life, whether he's willing to admit that out loud or not. And then Bucky revealing it, and then I really like the moment between him and Yelena, where it's no words, but it's Yelena's
she
like...
looks at him. And she doesn't like... She's not even mad at him. She's just like, oh, like I see. Like I see more of your character now.
And I think that's one of the moments... I think he specifically
She like realizes that it's a front. Basically.
Yeah, I think that's his character's one of the strongest ties towards this being the Marvel's Breakfast Club.
Okay.
Where it's like you think you know this person, and then you learn that you don't know them, and maybe you have more in common than you think.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the strongest cases for this being that.
And I'm so excited actually for him and Bucky and Sam to be in Doomsday. Actually, I really hope they've got to interact.
That's
you just
gonna be
have to interact.
So funny.
Yeah, that's great.
And then I actually really like that he got a beret at the end.
It looks really
love
cool.
all of the new outfits that everyone got, but him specifically. I think the beret is a really nice touch instead of the helmet.
Yeah, especially because they made fun of the helmet. I think that was funny, and he does look really kind of weird in the helmet. So I do like the beret, and it very much with the amount of people that have shields, when you have like. Even like Captain Carter, you have Captain America, you have now U.S. Agent, and just like they do a really good job at separating all of those people. Absolutely. So that's great.
And then I said the poor shield. I felt really bad when it got bent.
I did think it was funny. I got a taco.
Oh, and then you missed the part in the credits. It showed him riding on it like a horse.
On what?
On the folded shield.
No way.
Like
I ran to the restroom after that because I didn't want to miss the post-credit scene. But I was like, I've got to like last till the end of the movie, guys. And then I bolted. But yeah, so I missed some of the artwork, but it's okay.
Yeah, but his dynamic is this like super confident, trying to have the ideas, and then constantly just being put down by the people in the team. It was really funny. Every single time they did that, I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
And
put him in his place.
I think it's very interesting that now the ex-Captain America is a new Avenger.
Yeah?
And I think it's interesting... I think it's interesting that we don't kind of see what that looks like. Like, what does his wife think about that now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's all very interesting.
That's so true. Ooh, that is actually, I'm really glad you brought that up.
Some interesting stuff.
Excited.
I can't wait to look at if we get not a Thunderbolts 2, but a new Avengers movie. I'd be very fascinated to see what happens with his character specifically. And good for Wyatt Russell for having a character that I feel that way about.
Yeah, absolutely. He does a great job.
Going on to Ghost. Want to take us away on this one?
Yeah. So I do wish we got more of her.
Absolutely.
We didn't get any scenes or even like teases of what her scenes could have been in the Void. I think that's a shame because I also wanted more from her in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And but I like what she does here with what we get. I think she adds a good dynamic. I think she adds enough. Again, we don't get a whole lot of her, so it's not quite like standing out like some of the others.
It feels like they replace
But
her,
I do like the new suit.
For sure.
It's cool.
I like the old suit as well.
And some mentions of like, what did she say? Like, when they're like playing a game of who has the worst childhood, when she's like, "Well, I was enslaved as a child," or something like that. No, that was Yelena.
That was Yelena.
But she was talking. She mentions a few times about like she has to wear her suit, or else her body will be ripped apart. Like, I was like, yeah, you have that kind of humor. It's like Bucky being like, yeah, I'm such a happy past. I didn't see anything bad in the void.
No, Ava's really great. I think it's a testament that I would say she probably has the least amount of like lines or screen time, but she definitely does so much with what she does that it feels like she's equal level with these other people.
I agree with that.
And that is a testament. Yeah. It feels like they kind of act like her being the one with powers can kind of give them a chance to give everyone else some more like lines and their own stuff, because she's at least always going to be interesting to watch her do something.
Yeah.
Which she definitely is.
She gets the most done, honestly.
So
sorry. Oh my god. Okay.
But I just really look forward to seeing a lot from her. Hopefully she gets a chance to step up in a new Avengers movie or in Doomsday. I know there's a lot happening, but I hope they give her some good moments.
Well, and I think it's nice that even from the very beginning, once all of them realize that they're being set up, she still helps them. Like, there's 2 or 3 moments at least where they're like, oh, did she just leave? And she never did.
Yeah.
She's always getting help.
A real one.
Yeah. I think that's really cool.
Absolutely. Then we go on to
Bucky.
our Winter Soldier,
our
Bucky.
Congressman.
He's now a congressman. I was
for a very short amount of time.
I was kind of really hoping he would be a better congressman
Yeah.
than he was. It was a really funny scene where he's like, well, this trial is very worrying, and it has us all very worried. So I
thought that was
worry
funny.
that we are not worrying enough.
Yeah.
No, that was a funny scene, but it does feel interesting because I don't think it never feels like we have a reason. So why did he think this was a good idea to go into politics?
Why?
I wish they would have maybe
like,
explained it maybe a little more and why he thought that would be a good idea and why it clearly is not.
Yeah.
They show why it's not.
It's like why did he want to become a congressman? Because he doesn't seem like he likes it. B, why did people vote for him?
I mean, I understand why people voted for him because he's
I guess
the Winters. Well, because he's cool.
I guess
I can understand him getting the youth vote.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, why did you want to become a congressman, Bucky? I don't know. We didn't explore that, and I do think that's a little disappointing.
I think, but overall, he has a very surprisingly short role in this, considering what the trailers would make you think. I remember hearing early on he wasn't going to have a huge role. I think the way he was used sparingly throughout was enough for me personally. I
agree.
I think he has way more screen time throughout the entire MCU than any of these other characters have. Yeah. So I like that they let the other characters get more. Because we know Bucky. People already love Bucky. No matter what they did, we were going to love Bucky. I think if we saw a void scene for him, that would have been like the perfect amount. But what we had, whatever. Loved him punching the meth chicken. Yeah. That was funny. On meth. Best Bob line.
That was great, yeah.
But I continue to think this was a great setup for what this team is. And I think his dynamic is just going to really grow as he... is there at the start of the next movie with this team.
He's got some great scenes, especially when he stops being a congressman, becomes more just Winter Soldier and Bucky. Like the arm thing when he pulls the cord on the car, like that's really cool. The motorcycle scene, like that whole scene, it just exudes so much. Yes, like it just exudes so much like iconicness, and I love that for him. Yeah, and I love that for him.
No, I would just wish it wasn't all in the trailers for like his action scenes.
That is true.
I would have loved to see this for the first time in theaters and been like that. This is so awesome.
They needed to make.
They did. I understand why they did it. Yeah, for sure. And I think, hopefully, the best case scenario is that they don't have to do that for the next one.
Yeah.
That's the best case scenario.
Also, him and Sam are kind of back towards the beginning of their
back to
of
like
the
a
show.
frenemies vibe, which I'm so here for.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're both leading a different Avengers team. Well, Bucky's not leading, but he's a part of another one.
Yeah.
So it's all very fascinating.
It does make me wonder, okay, what conversations have been had here? Because you know that this is like just a Valentina kind of thing, but you are also going along with it. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like, but also they're, they've always been stubborn with each other. So maybe they didn't have a conversation because they're stubborn. So I don't know.
I also had the thought whenever they were like, we have to go to New York to save this. It's like, so you're not going to call Sam, Captain America, to maybe put a stop to this or help? And then I had the thought that whenever the Void thing started happening, where it's like, so Sam, if he wasn't actually actively caught up on this, would have just been voided out along with every other hero in New York, which I think is a fun little touch to the where's all the other heroes. Even if they were trying to help, they would get voided because they don't know what's going on. I would say that's clearly the only reason Yelena and the rest of the Thunderbolts are able to get to Bob.
Yeah.
And then also, if they assume Bob, it's another thing where any other hero who didn't know Bob would assume he was the enemy or the bad guy when really he doesn't need to be fought, he needs to be helped.
Yeah.
Which I think is another great statement on mental health.
Yeah. It does make me wonder if they're going to like slightly mention being in the Void, maybe in Brand New Day. Because, oh my God, what would Spider-Man go through? Oh, that is so rough.
Great day of living in New York.
Would Matt even like know?
He'd
Poor Matt.
feel people like disappearing.
Yeah. He'd be like, what would that experience be like for Matthew Murdock actually? Because he can't.
What was that like with the blip?
Oh my God. That's crazy. I mean, he'd hear the heartbeats going out and then he would just disappear. But this is different because it's like you're shown a scene and what would that look like for him because he can't see. So like, would he just like hear things going on? You know what I mean?
That's a really good point, actually.
Oh, that would be so scary. Oh my God. Imagine what Punisher would go through. No. It would be his family though.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Oh my God. That's so sad for him. And Karen would be like her brother. That sucks actually.
People
maybe hopefully she's still in San Francisco. Probably not
at this
though.
point, I think she definitely was though.
I don't know.
Unless this is happening at the same time as the Daredevil finale.
Yeah, I have no idea. That's what I want to know.
But going ahead and moving forward.
Yeah.
We also had Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina.
She's great.
We talked about her. We loved her. She's a very fresh villain, a very unique villain into the MCU, I would say. Mm-hmm. She was trying to be. Why can't I think of the word?
I have
kicked
no idea.
out of the government, put into jail, removed from her position.
Impeached. Yeah.
Gosh. She had a company that she worked with, Oscorp, not Oscorp. Interesting. That was working on Project Sentry. We don't know much about it other than she was trying to come up with a even leveled up version of super soldiers to keep the U.S. people safe. Mm-hmm. And she tried to tame Sentry. I love the line where she was, does this necklace make me look motherly enough? Mm-hmm. In the scene where she's trying to talk Sentry into being her big hero and saying that she was the only one who saw her value, his value. That's when she goes into the Void and sees her lore drop of that she was the one as a child who brought some kind of mafia or organization to her dad's front door, and she's the reason that he got killed. So,
and who knows what happened to her after that?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think that we leave her in a great position to continue being a potential villain to these people, to this team. So I love that. Would love to see what.
Although they, like Elena said, they own her now, so that's
I don't think that's gonna stop her. I think if we know her, she's gonna look for other reasons to try and get control over them. Yeah. And I think that's going to drive more wedges and give more reason for them to actually put up a front against her. Yeah. Losing Sentry, I love that whole scene. I loved having the button and it going off and it making his eyes all black. And then his whole body became black because he was the Void. Yeah. Love that whole thing. And I love that she's just like the Nick Fury for the New Avengers. And everyone's just a tinge more, morally gray. Yeah. and willing to do horrible things.
Well, and I love that I hate kill switches. They're so lazy, but this one was used well because it didn't work.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think it was funny that she underestimated him.
Sure.
Had a kill switch and then it triggered the void. So, which I knew that was going to happen, so I was not minding it. But I at first, when it was first introduced, I was like, please don't be the way they defeat him. So glad they didn't go in that direction.
For sure.
But anyways.
And then I also wanted to briefly mention Mel, played by Geraldine Viswanathan. I think is how I'm saying that. Her, I think, is interesting. This is the role that Ayo Edebiri was originally going to get before she dropped it. Very interesting. Intern of the month, I said.
Interesting. I mean, but she did great, though.
She did great here. I think
Ayo
Edebiri would have done great as well. I think she could ask for a bigger role, though.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree.
I think that was honestly probably for the best.
Yeah.
But I loved the line that Valentine gave to Mel where you are great at getting me good coffee no matter what the heck is going on. We're literally at a crater where Superman just plummeted to Earth. Yeah. And this is a great cup of coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that. Great. I love that she was the one watching the bunker mission and using the code words to be like, your housewarming party guests left. Didn't
accept the housewarming gift.
Yes.
So
I think it's also interesting that her name is Mel, and Melissa Gold is Songbird, aka Screaming Mimi, whatever. But she is one of the members of, the new Avengers and the Thunderbolts. So I think it's interesting, and she's wearing a Songbird necklace as well, the logo of that hero.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that she is very softly a thing on the board.
She's
to potentially
there.
Be a Thunderbolt at some point.
Yeah.
I put a note, maybe not Victoria. Valentina's going to continue her experimentation on people, and maybe that's something that she finds herself caught in the crosshairs of, and maybe she gains a power or two.
Yeah.
And can eventually level up to be on the team herself. I think she was very fun considering she had a smaller role here. So I would love to see her level up.
Can I just briefly go through the crew?
Go for it.
So we won't really talk about it. I think we just have the list of the director and then the writers, and I think both did really well. So let's just kind of go through who they are. Okay. The director is Jake Schreier?
I think Schreier.
Schreier? Sure. He was the director for Beef, which is great. One, I'm guessing, episode of Skeleton Crew. Good thing it wasn't the whole thing. Paper Towns. I didn't know that. That's fun. And then Robot and Frank.
That was his directing debut.
Okay.
And that's one of.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
I have not heard of it.
Okay.
It's
Yeah. And then the writers were Eric Pearson. He did Transformers 1, which I thought was really good. Deserved a lot better. Black Widow, which I think makes sense that they would bring somebody from that movie. Godzilla vs. Kong. I never actually saw that. Sorry, guys.
The first one's not great.
I've seen the first Kong, and I think that's it out of the entire franchise.
To be fair, Kong is the one to watch.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great movie. Thor Ragnarok, great movie. Agent Carter, I've never seen.
He directed the first 2 episodes of the first season, and then around half of the second season.
Okay.
And honestly, that's iconic, and I think that's probably a testament to how great Yelena's written.
Yeah. Marvel one-shots in Agent Carter, Item 47, Thor's Hammer Trip, and The Consultant.
That's a bunch of shorts that
I recognize some of those.
Marvel had in like their DVD section. And he directed a lot of them.
Yeah.
Or not directed, but wrote a lot of them. So just a little interesting thing.
And then Joanna Callow?
I think it's Callow.
She wrote stuff for The Bear, Beef, Hacks, and BoJack Horseman.
Some brutal hitting shows.
Yeah.
So you can feel a lot of that here.
Yeah. And then we have Kurt Busiek.
I heard that he was the person who came up with the Thunderbolts in the comics. And he's done some writing on some stuff that was comic in TV and some stuff. But what I really liked is that he was apparently a storyboard writer for the Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, which is my favorite Lego game, actually. I really love that one.
That's great. I love that. We don't have to.
We don't have time for that.
Yeah, we don't have to rank the post-credit scenes. Maybe another time, guys. We'll do it another
Another day,
time.
another time.
Maybe Fantastic Four. We'll see. Let's go to critics. Do you want to look up the critics and audience score, and I can look up like cinema score?
Sure. I don't know if cinema score dropped yet. I'd love to hear what cinema score is.
Yeah.
So
it dropped early for Sinners, though, I think, or some other movie it dropped early. Oh no, that was last week. The Accountant 2 and Until Dawn, both of them dropped really early.
Interesting. So I have Thunderbolts pulled up on Rotten Tomatoes. So do you remember what the critic score was?
When I saw it, it was like an 88. I think it went back up to 89.
It is at 89.
Yeah.
Which is good for that. I really hope it eventually gets to 90 because I think it's worth talking about in the 90 range.
Yeah.
And what do you think the audience score is?
Oh, I saw that one. It was like 95 the last time I saw it.
And it still is 95,
Slay.
and I love that for this movie.
Yeah. Cinema score is not out for this movie, so we'll talk about that another time.
We can just estimate it. I feel
like this would get... Honestly, I kind of feel like this is going to get like a solid A.
Maybe
A
it
minus.
deserves an A. I would guess A minus.
Mm-hmm. I mean, audience and
Audiences
critics
do
loved this,
critics,
so...
Both of them are in agreement on it. So
Yeah.
I think A is very plausible.
Yeah.
But I'd still put a lot more money on A minus.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning towards that, but I do want to be a little like... I want to try to be positive, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
I would say... I would go as far as to say is it deserves an A+.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I don't think it will.
No, I don't think so either. But that would be really fun.
For sure.
And that would help like its second weekend, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. IMDb, it has... Wait, do you want to guess?
I think I saw it earlier when I was doing the notes. I think it was a 7.8?
Yeah,
Okay.
7.8. And then Metacritic score... Let me see if I can even find that.
We'll see. Metacritic is weird, but...
I don't think I can see it. That's weird. Let me see if I open it. Nope, I don't see it.
It might come out
it's
later.
Okay.
But anyways,
fine.
So either way, it's being received pretty well.
Yeah.
Really well by critics, which you love to see.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely the audiences who watch these kind of movies are eating this up.
Yeah.
Which you love to see. I love whenever a bold swing gets received really well.
Mm-hmm.
But going on to box office and predictions.
Yes.
Let me pull up our little guessing list. So I saw you said you had a number for how it did on Thursday, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to say it? Do you want me to say it?
I would love for you to say it.
Okay. Domestically, it made $11.5 million. 11.5.
Okay.
And then international is almost nothing. It's about 100,000. So nothing so far, really.
Interesting.
But international is a little different, anyways.
Sure. I'd be interested. I feel like it.
Let me see. I want to try to find like something to compare it to. Oh, and also, its box office or production budget is 180 million, which is kind of high. But I mean, after wasn't like Captain America like 250 or something crazy?
They were reporting, or Variety and a couple of other places were trying to say it was in the 300 range.
Yeah.
Disney officially was like it's 180.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying that these two movies were made on the same budget.
Yeah. Okay, so
I remember that Captain America's opening Thursday was around 12 million.
okay, interesting. But then that didn't have as well as solid a reception.
For sure.
And this movie's not super crowded either. Neither one really was. So it doesn't have a lot of competition. I feel like Sinners is definitely its biggest competition right now.
Yes.
But I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to find what Shang-Chi made. It's hard not knowing the entire opening weekend because that's all I can find here.
Mm-hmm.
For Shang-Chi.
Yeah, our knowledge on and estimation is going to be very loose here.
Yeah.
Because without the initial box office. But I'm hoping and ballparking this movie makes somewhere with a 6 in front of it.
Interesting.
I think...
Ooh.
I would go for because Captain America is in the 400 range.
414 million.
Maybe
is where it ended internationally, worldwide.
If I had to guess, I'm gonna say 590 million. I'm gonna go. Wow.
I'm gonna say 550. I'm gonna be a little less.
A little lower.
Optimistic.
Interesting.
I don't know, cause like Captain America only went 414, but this does have better reception.
This one has much better reception, which is why I think overall, I don't know if I'm being too optimistic, but I really want it to get a 6 in front of it.
I do too. I want it to. I just don't know if it will.
And we'll see. And I think after the first weekend, we'll have a better idea of how to estimate it.
Yeah, and again, like really nothing's coming out next weekend.
Yeah, it essentially
Shadow Force, but like
has
that's not
this, and then
anything.
what? Bloodlines comes back out, and then Sinners
That's the next
re-releases.
Yeah.
This one has the potential to be number one, potentially for a while.
2 weeks in a row, yeah.
I think truly the next thing that could potentially beat it for number one is potentially Sinners re-releasing.
Maybe, yeah.
And we'll see on that.
So,
and that's only in IMAX, so that also cuts down how much damage that would do anyways. It's very interesting. I think this is a movie that deserves to do well. I think a lot of people are enjoying it a lot, and I definitely highly recommend it.
This is one of those I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it gets a 6 in front of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, that being said, do we have any last moments?
I don't think so.
Things?
I think we yapped for a while. Although we're only at 2:16. I feel like that's not our worst.
It's
I think we've done 2.5.
Yeah. So we will go ahead and cut it here. We super loved this movie. We super loved talking about it with you. So thank you guys so much for having this conversation with us.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm Alicia.
I am Luke, and thank you guys so much for watching
Not
So
So
Straight
Straight
Nerds.
Bye.
Bye, guys.